They threatened to raid Xiao Chunan in public chat. He answered by unlocking an epic inter-island teleportation platform. Yesterday, he was only a broke delivery rider trapped behind a survival barrier. Now 47 attackers had exposed their island numbers while mocking him. His SSS Destiny draw produced one reality-changing card every day. One pull summoned Bingley, a mythical ice empress with absolute loyalty. Another pull opened a portal that crossed any distance in a single step. The raid threat had handed Xiao every target he needed for a counterattack. Hours earlier, Xiao was racing through city traffic with a delayed food order and an angry customer counting down the final minutes. One red light separated him from another negative review, so the exhausted courier accelerated instead of protecting himself. A fully loaded truck entered the intersection from his left before Xiao could correct the mistake. The collision threw his body, delivery box, phone, and unfinished future into a moment of absolute silence. Instead of waking inside a hospital, Xiao opened his eyes on damp grass beneath a glowing yellow barrier. An unseen system announced that humanity had been transported into Island World, where civilization's advantages no longer applied. Every survivor received a tiny island, but their beginner protection would disappear after 3 days. Anyone unable to survive the following trials would be eliminated, making the countdown a direct death sentence. Xiao checked his body and found no broken bones, despite clearly remembering the truck crushing him. That relief lasted only seconds, because 3 red-eyed wolves were already circling beyond the barrier. Each beast stood as large as a mastiff, with saliva hanging from exposed fangs and hunger fixed on Xiao. The barrier covered only a narrow radius around a chest-high island monument, leaving almost no safe room. Beyond that weak circle of light, dense fog concealed the island, the ocean, and every possible predator. Xiao still wore his delivery uniform, but his motorcycle, phone, and every familiar tool had vanished. Stepping outside without a weapon would turn the former food courier into the next delivery. Pressing one hand against the dark monument awakened an interface containing chat, trades, storage, construction, expansion, and upgrades. The monument identified Xiao as the island owner and explained that exploration would disperse the surrounding fog. He opened the regional channel and discovered nearly 1 million people trapped in the same nightmare. Messages flashed past from survivors blocked by boars, bears, rabbits, wolves, and creatures they had underestimated. Some had already died after leaving their barriers because protection remained fixed. Around each island monument, others revealed that every warehouse contained a starter package, giving Xiao his first practical advantage. Inside his storage waited a logging axe, mining pick, fishing rod, dimensional pouch, and 2 basic skill books. The pouch held 10 item stacks without increasing weight, immediately solving the problem of carrying heavy supplies. Learning appraisal allowed Xiao to inspect objects, while deconstruction could process corpses into clean usable resources. Neither skill could kill the wolves, and the dual logging axe offered almost no confidence. Then the island survival system finished loading and produced a tiny winged companion. Beside the monument, the chibi sprite could not fight, increase Xiao's stats, or create weapons, which made its cheerful arrival feel insulting. It explained that its purpose was recording information, clarifying rules, and assisting the island master's growth. Xiao named the floating companion Deep Blue and immediately demanded information about his remaining beginner reward. Every participant received 1 initial talent draw, ranked from F level through the almost impossible SSS level. The roulette displayed enormous gray and white sections, proving that weak talents dominated the available outcomes. Higher grades appeared as narrowing slices, while the SSS section looked thinner than a scratch. Xiao understood that 1 spin could decide whether the wolves became prey, or whether he became theirs. He ordered Deep Blue to begin the draw before fear could convince him to delay. The wheel raced through 9 colors, then slowed while the pointer drifted dangerously close to the weakest sections. It passed F level, escaped E level, and continued moving until golden light flooded the barrier. The system announced Destiny Draw, the only SSS talent of its kind in the entire game. Its rule was simple enough to understand immediately. Once each day, Xiao could pull 1 card from the River of Fate. Anything could appear as a card, including equipment, materials, skills, talents, treasures, or even living characters. The reward would manifest permanently in reality, but rarity depended almost entirely on luck. Deep Blue added that the first draw received a beginner boost guaranteeing a stronger minimum result. Xiao ignored every glamorous possibility and focused on the 3 wolves waiting outside. He needed immediate killing power, not a future investment, decorative treasure, or another hungry mouth. Destiny Draw answered by forming a starback card above his palm and turning it slowly through the air. Crimson light exploded from the card, filling the small safe zone and making the wolves recoil beyond the barrier. When the brilliance faded, A silver-haired woman stood where the card had been. She wore an icy blue gown, carried no visible weapon, and possessed a calmness colder than the surrounding fog. Xiao initially feared the draw had produced another person he would need to feed and protect. That concern vanished when the woman noticed the wolves and raised one hand. Without changing expression, frost gathered above her fingers, compressing into 3 narrow icicles aimed at 3 separate targets. She released them together, and each projectile crossed the barrier before the wolves could react. 3 impacts punched through 3 foreheads with terrifying precision, dropping every beast onto the grass. The system awarded experience to Xiao's new follower, and confirmed that Destiny Draw had already solved his first death trap. Deep Blue identified the woman as a mythical potential character, whose growth would far exceed ordinary followers. Her loyalty was absolute, her body carried an exclusive ice talent, and multiple sealed spells waited to awaken. Xiao gave the nameless empress the name Bingley, turning his impossible card into the island's first permanent ally. Within minutes of waking powerless and surrounded, Xiao possessed food, protection, and a follower capable of killing monsters effortlessly. Deep Blue displayed Bingley's status, and revealed that mythical potential described her growth ceiling, not her current level. Every new level granted her 10 free attribute points, more than double what the weakest followers received. Even at level 2, her balance-based stats and exclusive ice physique placed her far above ordinary beginners. Many powerful spells remained sealed, meaning the effortless wolf kills represented only the beginning of her development. Xiao assigned her new points to Word Spirit because stronger mental energy increased both spell power and endurance. With the immediate danger removed, he stepped beyond the barrier and tested deconstruction on the nearest corpse. White light dissolved the wolf into 10 portions of clean meat, 1 bone, and 1 intact pelt. No blood, organs, or wasted tissue remained, making the system's processing cleaner than any butcher shop. Repeating the skill on all 3 bodies gave Xiao 30 portions of meat, and enough hides for basic warmth. The island warehouse froze time around stored items, allowing food and materials to remain exactly as deposited. For the first time since arriving, Xiao knew he would not starve before nightfall. He reopened the regional channel and watched the survivor count fall. While beginner protection was still active, dozens had died by stepping beyond fixed barriers, challenging elite monsters, or mistaking harmless-looking animals for easy prey. Most players reported F or E-rank talents, confirming how extraordinary Xiao's triple S result truly was. 1 survivor received enhanced hearing, another gained stronger hair, and many drew abilities useless against the creatures outside. Occasional C-rank talents drew enormous attention, while nobody publicly admitted possessing anything above B rank. Xiao assumed the strongest winners were already gathering resources. Instead of advertising their advantage to strangers, messages revealed that walking into the fog expanded visibility, and sometimes exposed treasure chests hidden around the island. Other survivors traded monster meat for water, fire starters, lumber, thatch, and stone needed for basic construction. The market showed raw meat everywhere, but clean water and reliable fire remained painfully scarce. Deep Blue explained that most fire starters came from chests, while water required exploration, fishing, or natural sources. Xiao checked the construction menu and found only a crude wood and thatch shelter, available at level 0. It could block sun and light rain, but offered no walls, security, or real protection from cold weather. Building even that weak structure required 10 wood and 10 thatch, resources Xiao still needed to harvest. Remaining inside the barrier would preserve his life today, while guaranteeing helplessness. When protection ended, Xiao equipped the dull logging axe, placed Bingley ahead of him, and stepped into the eastern fog. The mist retreated several meters with every advance, revealing a small grove of thin ordinary trees. Appraisal confirmed the grove refreshed wood, making it one of the island's fixed renewable resource points. Xiao struck the first trunk repeatedly until his hands reddened and the tree finally collapsed. 1 tree required nearly 10 painful swings, proving his ordinary body could not gather enough materials efficiently. He handed the axe to Bingley, expecting her combat power to help only slightly. Her first swing cut through an entire trunk, leaving his surface cleaner than Xiao's exhausted attempt. She repeated the motion across the grove, felling every tree before Xiao's palm stopped burning. The harvest produced 75 wood, enough to build several shelters and begin planning upgrades. Continuing east brought them to the island's edge, where the land ended in a perfectly vertical 3-meter cliff. Gray ocean water crashed below, while thick sea fog concealed a massive shadow moving beyond appraisal range. Deep Blue warned Xiao never to enter the water, because unknown creatures patrolled beneath the island. A white mahogany chest waited near the cliff, proving exploration could produce far more than manual gathering. Inside, Xiao found bottles of purified water and 100 additional units of wood. One chest exceeded the entire grove's output, teaching him that treasure hunting and renewable harvesting serve different purposes. The chest itself could be dismantled for materials, but Xiao kept it as portable storage instead. Following the southern coast revealed another chest containing 100 thatch and a basic campfire blueprint. The blueprint could unlock warmth, light, and cooking after Xiao acquired stone and flint. On the return route, appraisal identified a tall grass patch as the island's renewable thatch resource. Deep Blue confirmed that fixed resource points refreshed every day, so leaving them untouched wasted future production. Xiao assigned Bingley to cut the grass while he returned to unload wood, water, blueprints, an empty chest. He attached the campfire blueprint to the monument and built the first simple shelter over the safe zone. For post and a thatched roof looked unimpressive, but even basic cover mattered in a world without medicine. The upgrade menu revealed that stronger cabins required stone, while the island itself could advance only through another island core. Destroying his own monument would collapse the territory and kill him, making conquest the only known upgrade path. That brutal rule transformed every other survivor from a distant stranger into a possible future resource or threat. Xiao postponed conquest and focused on finishing his own map before spending valuable materials. Through the unstable market, Bingley returned with the entire thatch field harvested, carrying enough grass to support the cabin's next upgrade. Then the western fog moved, and something far stronger than the first wolves launched itself toward Xiao. Exploration became dangerous again when a shadow burst from the western fog and aimed directly for Xiao's unprotected neck. Bingley crossed the distance first, forming a diamond-shaped ice shield between her master and the charging beast. The impact drove her backward 3 steps and spread cracks across the shield, revealing strength far beyond ordinary wolves. Appraisal identified the attacker as an elite red-eyed wolf king, a Tier 3 pack leader mutated by unknown energy. Its speed, strength, and cunning made the creature lethal to beginners, even those holding combat talents. Xiao retreated instead of pretending courage could replace ability, leaving Bingley enough space to fight without protecting dead weight. The Wolf King lowered its body, scraped the ground with hooked claws, and launched itself like a dark projectile. Bingley abandoned defense, created a frost sword, and stepped forward to meet the elite monster head-on. She shifted beside its jaws, letting the first bite miss by inches before cutting a white trail across its flank. The wound remained shallow, proving this enemy could survive attacks that had instantly killed ordinary wolves. The Wolf King twisted in midair and whipped its heavy tail toward Bingley's face. She leaned backward beneath the strike, then used the exposed angle before the beast could recover. Her ice blade drove upward through the side of its mouth and continued into one blood-red eye. The creature's roar collapsed into a strangled sound as its enormous body convulsed above the grass. One final surge carried it forward, but Bingley held her ground and forced the sword deeper. The Wolf King crashed beside her feet, and the system awarded 300 experience for the elite kill. Bingley reached level 3, confirming that followers could grow rapidly through serious combat. Although the victory drained more energy than the first battle, she remained standing and ready to protect Xiao. Deconstruction transformed the corpse into elite meat bone, and an intact pelt carrying significantly greater value. The elite meat could restore stamina and energy, turning the monster's strength into a repeatable survival resource. Behind the dead Wolf King, the fog concealed the rare resource it had been guarding. A small spirit tree appeared with 14 purple fruits shaped like swollen pufferfish. Deep Blue explained that squeezing one fruit 3 times activated an explosion powerful enough to function like a grenade. The fruits regenerated every day, making the tree both a defensive weapon and a renewable trading advantage. Xiao harvested every fruit, then discovered a black iron chest positioned near the western cliff. Inside waited flint, seeds, and a barbecue grill blueprint that could increase the value of every cooked meal. The elite battle had delivered experience, weapons, food infrastructure, and a renewable source of explosives in one decisive payoff. Yet the final stretch of fog still concealed the ranking race. That would expose Xiao to the entire server. Whatever state the item is stored and will remain unchanged when retrieved. Xiao suggests using the disassemble skill instead process and you'll obtain basic resources. How does Xiao used it? Touch the target and silently ray. Sight the skill's name. Xiao stepped out of the protective light and crouched near a wolf carcass. Placing his hand on its still warm fur, Xiao murmured, "Disassemble." The body dissipated into glowing particles. Leaving behind a neatly arranged pile of resources, Xiao picked up a piece of meat. It was perfectly rectangular, weighing just over a kilogram with cleanly cut surfaces, no blood, guts, or tendons. It looked like professionally trimmed fresh meat from a supermarket. It was completely intact and clean on the inside. The 3 ice shards that pierced its head left no extra tears on the surface. Xiao stored the materials in a dimensional pouch, walked back to the island monument, and transferred everything into the warehouse. For the first time, the previously empty storage slots now held a few units of survival supplies. 999,916 out of 100 remaining. In less than 15 minutes, 82 people had already died. The chat channel was in chaos, some were still trapped inside the barrier, while others had fought their way out. Some had even begun bartering meat for other resources, the rest were ranting, crying, cursing, or begging for help. Xiao Long Out Yin have awakened his system. It won't help him fight monsters. Xiao got the F-rank enhanced strength. Xiao used the beginner's axe to take down a wild boar. But man, it nearly killed him. Xiao would tackle the other two after a break. Looking to trade for fire starters and clean water? Private message him if you've got fire starters. The chat was dominated by stories of F and E rank talents. Occasionally, someone would flaunt A or C rank talent, drawing a flood of spectators. C rank flame control. Xiao was about to take off. Brother's boss. Take him with you, need to tag along. Xiao was great at yelling. F takes up half, and he occupies the other half. The bottom two tiers alone consume 3 out of 4 of the pie. Even so, Xiao did not see myself as the only lucky one with a population of 1 million in one zone. The sheer numbers ensure a few jackpot winners. Those who manage to draw high-tier talents are most likely busy grinding and developing quietly, not flaunting in the chat channels. Found a resource chest hidden in the bushes, got some lumber and purified water from it. Are there monsters in the fog? Xiao noted down these two concepts and switched to the marketplace tab. Rows upon rows of listings popped up. Wild boar meat X20 in exchange for lumber 10 or thatch 10. After scrolling through a dozen or so pages, the listings were all in the same vein: beast meat being bartered for lumber, thatch, purified water, or fire starters. Deep blue. How did they get purified water and fire starters? Purified water comes from either sourcing water during exploration or finding it in chest. Fire starters mainly come from chest, although a few fire-type talents can craft them so. For most people, it's all about opening chests. That's a fair conclusion. Basic wood and thatch shelter requires lumber 10, and thatch 10 provides shade and rain protection, but no defense against wind or enemies. The protective barrier might keep creatures out, but it doesn't block wind or rain. Without a roof over your head, getting drenched in a storm could be fatal. There's no medicine here. Catching a cold could very well cost you your life. Surviving isn't just about defeating the monsters before you. Food, shelter, warmth, disease prevention. Xiao logged off from the island monument. Others had already begun chopping trees and gathering materials. Sitting idle wasn't an option. Standing silently beside the monument was Bingley. A wisp of her silvery hair lifting in the breeze, her icy blue eyes gazed into the gray fog beyond the barrier. Xiao glanced down at the crude woodcutter's axe in his hand, a pitiful excuse for a weapon. You take the lead, Xiao said. Bingley didn't waste words and stepped out of the barrier. Following half a step behind, Xiao clutched the axe tightly, his eyes scanning every shadow. A new patch of grassland appeared before him wherever Xiao go. It clears as Xiao moved forward. Xiao took another few steps, and the fog continued to retreat. If you want to know how big the island is, keep walking in one direction until you reach the end. All right, got it. Xiao walked about 10 more steps, and a small grove emerged from the fog. Calling it a forest seemed generous. Xiao aimed a detection skill at the nearest tree. Ordinary grove, harvestable. Can be chopped for wood. Efficiency depends on tools and strength. The axe had bit into the wood, sending a painful vibration up his hand. Sheesh, this axe is so dull. Gritting his teeth, Xiao hacked at the tree 7 or 8 more times before it finally fell over with a shaky creak. Obtained ordinary with ×5. By the time Xiao felled it, the palms of his hands had turned red and raw. Bingley stood silently by, watching without saying a word. With a single clean strike, the trunk split neatly in two. Xiao glanced at the stump left from his tree. After 10+ swings at it, then back at her flawlessly severed one. All right, from now on, logging is officially your job. She didn't respond and instead silently felled a second tree. In less than the time it takes for incense to burn out, she had brought down all 15 trees, yielding 75 units of wood. With that strength, you'd be wasted anywhere but on a construction site. She handed the axe back to him. Need to confirm the boundary. They continued heading east. Before long, the fog had retreated entirely to the sea, marking the eastern edge of the island. Beyond it, there was no more land, only a vertically severed sea cliff with a 3 meters drop to the turbulent gray-blue waters below. Suddenly, a massive shadow darted through the fog before disappearing back into its shrouded depths. A chill ran down his spine, and Xiao reflexively stepped back 3 paces. Sea fog still thick. Don't approach the cliff's edge, and absolutely do not enter the water. This cliff, was it carved by something? Shaking the thought off, Xiao turned his attention back to the chest. Ordinary contains random basic resources. Lifting the lid, A burst of white light poured out acquired 500 milliliters bottled water to regular wood. 100 Xiao froze for a second. Had Xiao known, Xiao would have searched for chest first. Deep blue floated over resource chest are an important way to gather supplies in this world. A standard 500 milliliters, clear and pristine in a civilized world. It's worth $2 or $3. It can save your life. Humans can survive 7 days without food, but 3 days without water. Water is hard currency in the early stages. Why dismantle a sandalwood chest when it's better to keep it for storage? Xiao selected no and slid it into his bag. That layer of bright yellow light glowing from the island monument was right there on the grass. Roughly 50 meters away. This island's that small. 50 meters on all sides means the entire island's barely 100 meters square. A mere 10,000 meters. After walking about 20 paces, the coast took a sharp 90 degrees turn. Exposing the southern side, it was exactly the same as the east. The soil was loose, but there was a solid rock layer underneath. Don't tell him this island's artificial insufficient data to make a determination. Do you ever say anything except insufficient data? Well, spit it out. Xiao wasn't about to argue with a glowing ball of a spirit. Regular thatch 100, a piece of slightly yellowed parchment with a leathery texture, dropped onto the grass. Once the protective barrier vanishes in 3 days, no one knows what the island's nights will hold. Firelight is at least a small shield against the unknown in the dark deep blue. How do you use this thing? Tear it up and eat it. Xiao scooped up the blueprint, thatch, and the empty chest, stuffing them all into the dimensional bag. 9 out of 10 slots were now full. Let's go back and start building. On the way back, an area with grass nearly 2 meters tall came into view on impulse. Xiao used an identification skill. Ordinary thatch grass collectible can be harvested by hand faster with tools. Xiao planned to bypass it after all. They already had enough thatch. However, the fixed number and types of resource points on each island are determined from the start. Xiao recommend harvesting daily. Maintaining a lead can help you stay ahead. Daily refreshes. Fixed resource points. These aren't one-time consumables. You go ahead and harvest this thatch grass and pile it up. Xiao would collect it later. It's better than pulling by hand unless you want to use ice spikes that might cut faster. Using a trump card to cut grass, she casually flipped the axe, gripping it with the blade facing down in one hand. Passing through the light shield, Xiao placed his hand on the monument first. Xiao affixed the blueprint for the campfire. The dimensional bag instantly freed up 7 slots, leaving just a mining pickaxe, a fishing rod, and 2 bottles of water. Basic campfire requires 5 stone, 5 wood, 5 thatch, 1 flint. While Xiao had wood and thatch, Xiao lacked both stone and flint. A white light surged out, conjuring a small shelter that perfectly covered the safe zone for wooden posts. Supported a thatched wooden roof piece together. Well, at least it's got a cover over the top. Xiao patted one of the wooden posts. Probably won't stop rain, but should do for some shade. Can Xiao add walls? Upgrade to a basic wooden house for full walls and a door. What's needed for the upgrade? Destroy the monument in front of you to obtain it. Each island's monument serves as its core. Before the voice could even fade, a line of ominous red words floated up from the stone tablet. Warning: the island tablet is the core. If the island tablet is destroyed, the island collapses, resulting in the death of the island owner. Please protect your island tablet at all cost. Currently, the only known way to level up: destroy someone else's island tablet. Shall let go of the sprite. Basic wooden hut upgrade requires wood 100, thatch 100. Stone X20 function provides shelter from rain, sun, and wind. Xiao had enough wood and thatch, but Xiao lacked stone. Whether Xiao wanted to upgrade the hut or build a campfire, Xiao couldn't avoid the need for stone. Trading a blueprint for just 1 piece of flint. Clearly, the other party understood how scarce flint was and wanted something of greater value in return. On the flip side, given that only 1 person out of 1 million players was selling flint, it truly was a rare resource. Bottled mineral water 350 milliliters. 1 asking for wood, stone, thatch, food 30. A single bottle of water for 30 resource units. Some people were offering trades at 1 unit of meat for 1 unit of wood. Those capable of leaving their islands could deal with the beast lurking around, and had an excess of meat, with supply outweighing demand. Prices for meat couldn't rise very high after a few minutes of browsing. Xiao had a rough idea of the market. 2 units of wood is almost equal to 1 unit of stone. Stone prices weren't outrageous, which implied that many islands had natural stone resource points. No rush, Xiao muttered, closing the trading menu. Xiao casually tapped open the regional channel. 999. 632 out of 1 million users remaining. Another 280 for people were gone. Please, Xiao had got 3 monsters on his island, and Xiao could defeat them. What's the point of an F rank ability like Enhanced Smell? It only makes them smell worse the closer they get. Xiao had got hair enhancement. Also Frank, all it does is make his hair grow longer. Xiao was too scared to leave his shelter at night. Xiao chuckled at the messages. Put it together. It's like having the sharp vision of a long-haired hunting dog. Xiao scrolled down further, and a few messages grabbed his attention. Does anyone know how to defeat an elite monster? There's a black iron treasure chest on his island with an elite wild boar guarding it. Xiao went north and saw a glowing fruit with the black chest nearby. An elite giant python was coiled up next to it. Xiao figured you'd need at least C-level talent to have a shot elite monsters. Black iron treasure chest, special resource points. It seems like the resources on each island are distributed differently. Does his island have anything like that? The fog on the west and north sides of the island still hadn't cleared, so anything was possible. From a distance, Xiao could make out the patch of tall grass, or rather what used to be a patch of tall grass. The nearly 2-meter-tall blades had been neatly cut down to the ground, with a perfectly stacked pile of grass sitting on the ground. Thanks for the hard work here. Have some water. She tilted her head slightly, giving him a glance before taking it. The grass is decent toughness. It's good for making rope. It can be made into rope, not for anything intricate, but it could make some sturdy binding ropes. They just lack the tools. Ordinary grass times 75, including the 90 in the storage. That made 165 total, more than enough for upgrading the wooden cabin. Xiao led the way, clutching the logging axe as a precaution. Bingley followed half a step behind, calm as ever, but careful to maintain enough flexibility in her movements to handle anything unexpected. She's an S-grade mythical figure after all. There's no way she could have been conjured up completely out of thin air. The only thing Xiao clearly remember is drifting through the endless expanse of stars, until Xiao heard a summons. When Xiao opened his eyes, the first thing Xiao saw was you. Feeling the weight of her stare, Xiao awkwardly scratched his head. The past doesn't matter. Stick with him, and Xiao promise you'll live the good life. The stench of blood filled the air. Bingley stepped in front of him in one swift move. Ahead, her left arm lifted, and a diamond-shaped ice shield, half as tall as a person, materialized out of thin air. Spiderweb-like cracks spread across the shield's surface, but it held strong. In the end, the attacker revealed itself. Blood-red eyes glared menacingly, and two long gleaming curved fangs jutted out. From the corners of its mouth, Xiao threw over an identification spell. Red-eyed Wolf King Tier 3 Berserk Pack Leader mutated from absorbing an unknown energy. Speed, strength, and cunning far surpass ordinary creatures. The Wolf King shook its head, rising to its feet, and growled low. Its bloodshot eyes locked onto Bingley. Without thinking twice, Xiao backed off several large steps. Xiao was keenly aware of his own limits. There's no chance Xiao would be any help in this fight. Charging, and would only make him dead weight. Leaving the battlefield to her was the smartest move. She sidestepped the lethal snap of its jaws, and her ice blade streaked across the wolf's fur, leaving a shallow white mark in its wake. Missing its target, the Wolf King snarled as it twisted and lashed its tail toward her. The attack sliced through the air straight at her. She stepped forward, her ice sword striking upwards in a flash, slicing through the side of the Wolf King's agape jaws, and driving through to penetrate its eye socket. Experience plus 300. Follower Bingley has leveled up to level 3. Bingley braced herself against her icy sword, her chest rising and falling with her slightly labored breaths. Xiao gave her a big thumbs up and walked over to the corpse breakdown spell. Breaking down elite Red-eyed Wolf King Elite Wolf Meat X30. Xiao picked up a chunk of the meat, a deep crimson, its texture finer and more firm than ordinary meat. Identification: Elite Wolf Meat. Consuming a small amount restores stamina and energy. Significantly better flavor compared to common beast meat. Food with bonus effects. It's worth far more than ordinary meat. There's got to be something good nearby. Xiao followed the direction the Wolf King had charged. From the mist receded, revealing a small tree about 1 meter tall. They looked just like inflated puffer fish, a rare item, not edible. Squeeze its belly 3 times before throwing to trigger a violent explosion. Deep blue circled around it. Once green, great item from spirit plants, far rarer than common resource points. Spirit plants regenerate daily, 24 hours after harvesting. Breaking its stem directly won't trigger an explosion. The fruit detached cleanly from the stem. It felt heavy and cold in his hand, like something fresh out of the fridge. Bingley helped too, and they quickly harvested them all. 14 purple fruits neatly stacked in the bag, taking up 1 slot. Xiao walked a bit further in the direction the Wolf King had charged from, ending up at the western edge of the mist. At the cliff's edge sat a pitch-black box, its metallic sheen pulsing with green rings of light. A black iron chest. His eyes lit up. The chat had mentioned that elite monsters guarded these. Rare contains random basic resources, with a chance to include rare great items or equipment. Lifting the lid, a glow of green light spilled out. Acquired barbecue grill blueprint 1 flint 3 puffer fruit seeds 5. Xiao grabbed the 3 grayish-white stones. First flint. With this, They've got a reliable fire starter for campfires. Bingley gave it a glance. You can make fire. Cooking food increases fullness by plus 30%. Thunderpuffer fruit seeds. Plant in cultivated soil to grow thunderpuffer fruit. Xiao glanced at the now empty chest. Even stone materials were rare on the market. Let alone iron. Let's keep it for now, it might come in handy. The chest was tucked into the last open bag slot. 10 slots are still way too small. Xiao patted the bag and looked toward the misty north. A mining pickaxe is used to collect and mine materials yielding stone. The rock barely showed a faint white mark. This stuff, Xiao muttered under his breath. Not ready to admit defeat, Xiao tightened his grip and swung hard. 7 or 8 more times. Sparks flew, and only a tiny chunk broke off. Obtain basic stone ×1. At this rate, it would take forever to clear that pile. Looking up, Xiao caught Bingley's gaze. She extended her hand toward him. Let him try this. You don't look the least bit troubled, she said with a raised brow. Xiao would go check ahead for any chest. You handle this for now. She stepped up to the stone pile and with one arm swung the pickaxe at a large boulder. A significant chunk of stone broke off cleanly. After about a dozen meters, the mist began to recede, pulling back like tide water until the final piece of the map stood revealed. Turning back round, Xiao saw that the mist had dissipated entirely, now lingering just beyond the island's perimeter. The island itself was fully visible, a neat square about 100 meters on each side, with sheer cliffs cutting off every edge. Her pickaxe strikes, emitting a steady rhythm, and this is called an island. Might as well call it a prison. Sheer cliffs on all sides. Meet the conditions to increase the island's size, upgrade the monument, or expend specific resources. Let's worry about that later. Xiao glanced at the sky and pulled out his fishing rod. With no space left, Xiao left the empty rosewood chest where it was for now. Did Xiao got a defective one? It's not meant for catching fish, it's for fishing at materials. Cast it, and you'll see. Skeptical, Xiao walked to the cliff's edge, planted his feet, and gave the fishing line a good cast toward the water below. Do Xiao at least get some guaranteed loot when it's done? It depends on your luck. Are you telling him Xiao could get nothing at all? That's fishing for you. That's the default experience. Deep Blue's small face was filled with an expression that screamed, isn't this just common sense? A different island designated 1020 for Xinjiang stood by the island steel, his gaze fixed on a battle 20 meters away. His excitement barely contained. The better the ranking, the higher the quality of the prizes. 3 barbarians wielding stone axes were besieging an elite wild boar. The boar was covered in wounds, trembling on shaky legs, its blood soaking the grass into a dark stain. It was on its last legs. All that stood between him and clearing the last of the fog was killing this wild boar. First place's public announcement and hidden reward were already as good as in his pocket. This was his B-rank talent, Barbarian Chieftain. He started the game with an epic tier barracks that could summon 3 barbarians daily, all maxed out on loyalty. Whether it was chopping wood, mining stone, or pulling weeds, his 3 helpers were efficient beyond measure, while others were still struggling within their protective barriers with no idea how to go out. His island was already fully developed. Red Sakura, what do you think the first place reward will be? Could anyone in this region be faster than him? He glanced around the chopped down forest, dug out stone mounds, flattened grass, and opened treasure chest. For most people, just chopping trees and mining would have been a day's struggle, let alone dealing with 3 blockers and an elite boss. AB rank talent places you at the top tier of this region, with 3 epic units working simultaneously. Even those with S-rank talents might not keep up. A barbarian raised his stone axe high, aiming at the creature's neck. Victory was just within reach. Congratulations to trial challenger Xiao Chunan, 6,666,666 for being the first in the region to disperse all the fog and collect all resources, earning a perfect tier lighthouse as the first across the entire server to achieve this feat. The reward has been upgraded to the epic tier lighthouse. How is this possible? A stone axe came down, ending a wild boar. Its massive body crashed to the ground, and with it, the last trace of mist on the island dissipated. It all happened in less than 10 seconds. Yet the rewards were worlds apart. Xinjiang let out a raspy sound, his chest tightening with frustration. They were all losers in his eyes right now. All he wanted was to find the person named Xiao Chunan and tear them to shreds. He opened the regional chat. The entire chat channel was roaring with excitement. He was Xiao Chunan, first place in the entire server, a god from their region. Xiao was so tired of saying envy, while others are completing the whole damn map. Xiao was still struggling with bunnies at the doorstep. Xinjiang scrolled through, his face expressionless, his knuckles turning pale from how tightly they gripped his device. Some charge ahead through sheer, unrelenting effort. Others, they just draw the perfect card from the deck. The difference isn't in how hard one tries, but in the hand one is dealt. Meanwhile, Xiao hadn't yet realized that his name had already been etched into the minds of everyone in the region. Even if Xiao had known, Xiao wouldn't. A line of golden text materialized before him. You have obtained an epic grade structure. The ancient lighthouse. The gem rotated slowly. Radiating rings of soft purple light. Ancient lighthouse epic grade once placed dispels sea fog. Within a 10,000 meters radius of the island. Not bad at all. Getting first place across the whole server didn't surprise him. It was all thanks to Bingley's efficiency. If someone had still managed to beat her, Xiao would honestly start questioning if she'd been slacking. The server-wide announcement, however, did make him think twice. Deep blue flitted around him, patting its little chest in relief. They almost lost first place to that second guy. Less than 10 seconds apart. Among a million people, he's only 10 seconds slower than him. With the mythical Bingley at his side, his talents must not be ordinary either. Xiao grabbed it by the nape and held it up. Before you say something, system sprites are designed for assistance. Certain information requires the host to trigger it. Actively don't pawn it off on rules. Don't wait for him to ask. Try pulling this again, and Xiao would shove you in a box, hammer down the lid, and leave you under the lighthouse overnight. If you're uncertain about anything, tell him the risk level outright. Don't use the excuse of insufficient information. Bingley walked over with the pickaxe in hand, taking the pickaxe from her and handing her the fishing rod. Xiao watched as she sat neatly by the cliff's edge, holding the rod upright. 165 thatch, 165 stone, 175 wolf meat, 30 wolf bones, 3 wolf hide, 3 bottled water times to empty boxes, times 3 iron ingots, times 10 green elite wolf meat, 30 elite wolf bone, 1 elite wolf hide, 1 thunder fruit, 14 thunder fruit seeds, 5 barbecue grill blueprint, times 1 purple ancient. The workbench unlocks automatically after upgrading the shelter. You'll need to upgrade the hut to a wooden cabin first. Another layer of progression shall open the upgrade menu. Stones form the foundation. Wooden planks rose and interlocked upward. Within seconds, the white light faded, leaving behind a proper little wooden cabin. Shelter has been upgraded to basic wooden cabin. Inside, it was about twice the size of the previous hut. The floor was still grass, but hey, it beats sleeping out in the open. Workbench requires with 20 stone, 10 iron ingot to use to craft tools and equipment. Let's build it first. It came equipped with an anvil and slots with faintly glowing runes etched along its edge. Pressing his hand on the workbench, a crafting interface popped up. Within seconds, a grill appeared on the workbench. The iron frame was solidly welded. Because it used flint as a material, it had a built-in ignition system. Xiao turned the knob. It's got a built-in lighter. Basic campfire requires stone 5, wood 5, thatch 5, flint 1. Xiao selected a patch of ground to the left of the door and confirmed a flash. They can cook it in the evening. It'll last them through the night. Xiao glanced around the camp. Shabby as it might be, it was still leagues better than those drafty grass huts. Xiao pulled out 2 cuts of premium wolf meat, twisted the grill's dial, and watched as sparks flew to ignite the wood chips. Island Monument 6666 owner Xiao Chunan level 0. Area 10,000 square him resources. Xiao searched for flint times 1 trade for 100 wood, or 50 stone flint times 1 trade for 1,000 milliliters drinking water. Some savvy individuals had started selling cooked meat, with prices varying between 10 to 20 units per piece, but they sold out almost instantly. Xiao rubbed his chin and thought the market for grilled meat had serious potential. Fire sources were scarce. Not everyone was as lucky as him, receiving a grill blueprint straight out of the gate. Qinjiang and Lu Ruin, the woman who just secured 3rd place, her reward. A high-quality lighthouse. Damn it, Xiao had got to be great talent. They'll trade in stone for 1 piece, buying clean water at any price or cooked food. Xiao would even trade spiritual or for it. Intermediate wooden cabin. Xiao requires with 300 thatch, 200 stone, 50 expands area, adds a bedroom. It's a huge gap before Xiao could even get there. Judging by the daily resource refresh rate, 75 wood from the forest. About the same for thatch. An idea hit him, so Xiao reopened the trade system in his warehouse. Xiao had 35 wood, 60 thatch, and 135 stone left. In the blink of an eye, Xiao emptied his wood and thatch stock and exchanged them for 95 units of raw meat. Xiao stuffed them all into his dimensional pouch and stepped out of the wooden cabin. Watching meat cook is boring, though, and it made him miss having a phone to pass the time. This island token setup is too rigid. The initial 2 pieces of elite wolf meat were done, but the 18 pieces added later needed a few more minutes. The meat was firm and flavorful, just lacked some salt, making it a little bland. The bag was labeled refined table salt, looking exactly like the salt you'd find in supermarkets before getting transported here. You fish this up on your first cast. Xiao chuckled. This fishing for supplies mechanic not bad at all. First catch. And they get a much-needed seasoning item. Thanks for the hard work today. Eat up and regain some energy. She took a bite. Not bad at all. If there's money to be made, might as well make it. Xiao muttered to myself. Deep Blue flapped its wings anxiously beside him. Master. What about Deep Blue? Xiao picked up a tiny piece of meat and waved it teasingly in front of it. Take a sniff instead. Xiao was heading inside to list these for trade back in the shelter. Xiao accessed the island monument and opened the trade interface. Pricing was no trivial matter. Around 5 units of wood per piece would be fair, but today was everyone's first day of survival in this world. In this kind of seller's market, as long as the price wasn't outrageous, whatever was listed would be snatched up in an instant. Xiao Chunan roasted meat is up for trade. Grab it while it lasts. As soon as the message went out, the channel's refresh rate skyrocketed. What kind of speed is this? Xiao just opened the trade screen and it's sold out. Big boss, can you put up more? Xiao Chunan, you're already at the top of the leaderboard. Can't you lend a hand to your fellow zone mates? Resources don't just fall from the sky. Boss, Xiao was a university girl. Care to chat privately? Young man, Annie hasn't eaten all day. Could you spare a piece of roasted meat for an elder? Flattery, begging, fake familiarity, and even attempts at guilt tripping were all pouring in. They've crossed into a survival world, and you still expect to freeload. Trading 18 pieces of cooked meat for 360 units of resources. But Xiao didn't rush to upgrade anything. Raw meat times 140 expended. Thatch times to 120 gain raw meat. 220 got 360 more raw meat. Regional channel messages. 9 out of 10 left. Each person gets only 10 messages per day. No sense wasting them. Xiao would rather just watch the chatter. Each has 3 mahogany chests, 1 black iron chest, and a special resource point guarded by an elite monster. But the resource point layout is completely random. Others are stuck with only thatch rocks as starting resources. The special resources vary widely. To spirit minerals, spirit fruits, spirit herbs, spirit springs. Those who can kill an elite get first dibs on the special resources and black iron chest. Those who can't just have to watch from the sidelines. Xiao collected the 20 cooked meat pieces and put another batch of 20 raw meat on the grill. The efficiency is still way too slow. System host, you've made being a profiteer sound so noble. Basic cooked meat 10 trade for iron ingots. X times to basic cooked meat 10 trade for wood times 20 or thatch times 20. It's just sitting there quietly. But Xiao was not in a rush. If they get desperate enough from hunger, they'll trade them for meat. Eventually let it sit for now. Unscrewing the untouched bottle, Xiao took a gulp. The cold water suits his throat. Xiao put one bottle back and carried the open one in hand. Xiao stopped roughly 10 meters from the cliff's edge, not too close in case something leaps out of the sea. Xiao wanted some buffer. Runes crawl from the bottom to the top as its form solidifies. A purple gemstone at the top spins rapidly, emitting beams of light upward and outward. The purple rays pierce through the thick fog, pushing it back. From his island to the center, everything within a 10 kilometers radius is now clear as day. The closest one is about 500 to 600 meters away, the farthest a mere black speck. At the edge of vision, just as Xiao was scrutinizing his surroundings, something abnormal catches his eye. The sea swells into a mound like a small hill of water, and then splits apart. A flat and enormous head surface behind the serrated snout. It was a shark, to be exact, a shark, larger than the initial island itself. It roams through the sea fog, ramming into and gnawing on unprotected islands. The lighthouse's light has a natural repelling effect on it as long as you're within the violet glow. It typically won't come near. And what about islands without lighthouses? When the shield drops, are they just sitting ducks? It doesn't attack actively during the shielded period once the shield disappears. Damn, this lighthouse is even more valuable than Xiao thought. Xiao tilted his head back, staring at the rotating violet gemstone atop the tower. From afar, it was the brightest beacon in the sea. Can people from other islands see the light? Trial participants within the glow's coverage can see it. This tiny island now felt like someone waving a torch in the dark. In 3 days, the shield would be gone. One step at a time, staying alive comes first. His gaze shifted to the fishing rod. At the edge of the cliff, the line sliced through the water, hauling up a white treasure chest that splashed onto the ground before bursting into motes of light. Xiao completed the final resource point only seconds before another top player, triggering the first regional achievement announcement. His name and island number echoed across the entire server 3 times, instantly turning an unknown courier into the leaderboard's first-place survivor. The reward began as a perfect grade lighthouse, but the server first bonus upgraded it again into an epic ancient lighthouse. Xinjiang finished less than 10 seconds later and received only a rare lighthouse, making second place feel like a public defeat. While the regional channel exploded with praise and jealousy, Xiao studied the miniature tower resting inside his palm. Once placed, the structure could clear sea fog across 10,000 meters and increase every island resource by 50%. It could also detect approaching danger, making the reward far more important than a decorative ranking trophy. Xiao installed the tower near the northern coast, where purple light anchored its base into the island's underlying rock. Metal sections rose 30 meters into the air, while runes climbed toward a rotating violet gemstone. Beams swept across the ocean and pushed the fog outward until dozens of neighboring islands appeared like squares on a dark game board. For the first time, Xiao understood that every survivor had been placed frighteningly close to potential allies and enemies. Then a shadow larger than his entire starting island moved beneath the newly revealed water. The sea swelled upward before a colossal serrated snout burst through the surface, several kilometers away. Appraisal returned only question marks, proving the creature's level exceeded everything Xiao could currently measure. Deep Blue identified it as an island-eating shark that hunted through sea fog and carved unprotected islands apart. Its saw-like snout could cut through the rock foundation until an entire territory collapsed into the ocean. An initial island offered almost no resistance, making every owner without protection vulnerable after the beginner period ended. The monster turned away when violet light touched the water, revealing the ancient lighthouse's most valuable hidden function. Its glow naturally repelled island-eating sharks, while ordinary lighthouses offered far weaker coverage. Xiao realized the tower had not merely earned him resources. It had prevented a future death he never knew was approaching. However, clearing the fog worked in both directions, allowing every nearby island owner to see the towering purple beacon. His island had become safer from the sea while simultaneously becoming the brightest target for human greed. Regional messages soon identified the epic lighthouse as Xiao's reward and began discussing the wealth likely stored beneath it. Some players proposed forming a coalition after the protection period, believing hundreds of weak islands could overwhelm one top-ranked owner. Xiao did not answer their boasting because the same tower exposing him also multiplied his wood, stone, thatch, and spirit fruit output. Renewable resources now produce 50% more each day, accelerating every shelter, workstation, farm, and defensive upgrade. He upgraded the shelter into a sealed wooden cabin, protecting the island monument behind walls and expanding the safe zone. A new workbench allowed him to craft the barbecue grill, campfire, tools, beds, and every blueprint he could obtain, using flint and iron. Xiao built a grill capable of processing 20 portions of meat during each time batch. That single machine transformed cheap raw monster meat into the region's most demanded early survival product. Players who could kill beasts still lacked fire, while trapped survivors would trade almost anything for food they could safely eat. Xiao bought raw meat when it traded almost evenly with wood and thatch, then sold cooked portions for many times the cost. The first listing disappeared within seconds, proving scarcity had given him temporary control over the market. He reinvested the proceeds into more meat, additional flint, iron ingots, and for extra grills. 5 furnaces soon roasted 100 portions per batch, while Bingley managed the flames with perfect precision. The island's empty warehouse, filled with thousands of resources earned from goods competitors could not yet produce at scale. Every successful trade created another advantage, but Xiao refused to confuse a temporary monopoly with permanent security. Fire sources would spread, prices would fall, and the cooked meat market would eventually become crowded. Before that happened, he intended to convert every hour of scarcity into infrastructure that would remain valuable. Afterward, the lighthouse, cabin, workbench, and production line now reinforced one another, creating momentum no single lucky item could match. Across the water, jealous survivors saw only a glowing tower, never realizing the real threat was the system growing beneath it. The power of knowing their desperation and his leverage, and wielding that leverage with precision brought its own thrill. And tomorrow, Xiao would just use today's gains to dominate the next round if they don't push forward. There will be no tomorrow. Deep Blue, are there any limitations on fishing rods? How many times can each be used daily? And what's the max per person? You could line the entire shoreline with them if you wanted. But honestly, how many people would be willing to sell these things? Xiao pulled out two skill books and walked over to Bingley here. These are for you. You're strong in combat, but fighting alone won't cut it. With a single tap of her fingertips, the 2 books dissolved into streams of light and sunk into her brow. Your follower Bingley has learned deconstruction appraisal. Xiao kept the other 2 for myself, adding to the one Xiao already had, 3 in total per person. It's unlocked through blueprints as your shelter reaches specific upgrade stages. Blueprints obtained through upgrades are as good as mine. 20 grilled meats sold, received iron ingots 40. Nothing beats resources hitting your account. The previously limited list containing only a grill now showed 3 new items. That don't tell him Xiao had to fish it out from the ocean. Certain islands will refresh with clay pits. Treasure chest might also have a chance of. For short legs supported the frame, and the top was layered with tightly pressed dried grass. For padding, iron hoe crafted successfully. Iron blade, wooden handle. A bone clasp securing it. The craftsmanship wasn't perfect, but it felt good in the hand. One for myself. One for Bingley. And the extra one, let's list it for trade. Iron hose were nearly impossible for most to craft at this stage. After listing one, Xiao stashed the other two in his bag. Farming will wait for later, there's something more important. For now, Xiao headed toward the northern coastline. Spaced 2 meters apart, Xiao planted each rod firmly into the ground, all facing the ocean one by one. Xiao cast the empty lines into the water. Xiao took a few steps back to admire his handiwork. Each rod gets 3 uses a day. Others get 3 pulls a day, 10 times the draw chances. With a 100 rods, you're looking at a guaranteed outcome. The setting sun turned the horizon into shades of orange. The salty sea breeze lingered in the air. Xiao glanced back at the wooden cabin. That's the only way for the underdog to rise for the next few hours. His routine became incredibly systematic. The fail rate was terrifyingly high nearly half the time. Xiao pulled up nothing but air and a few drops of water. A bag of salt, 10 units of glass, 60 units of wood to loaves of bread, a bundle of dried wormwood, and an apple. Bingley had already taken the cooked meat off the fire and was now putting fresh cuts on to roast. The roasted meat business hadn't slowed down. With all 5 grills running at full capacity within hours, Xiao would sold another 500 units. Xiao felt no joy. Just opened the trading menu immediately. Let them undercut each other into oblivion. Xiao muttered. Xiao had anticipated this and switched over to the raw meat market. Xiao knew the roasted meat business wouldn't last. Market saturation was inevitable. The key to maximizing profit was stockpiling raw meat before prices soared too absurdly high. Xiao just caught a bottle of spirit spring water. With mine, you only get 3 uses a day. Sell it, and it's gone forever. Now that fishing rod value was openly debated. Fewer people would be willing to part with theirs. The market always rewards those who act first. The other was his final gambit: 70 roasted meats trade for fishing rod, dimensional bag, or any skill book. Dimensional bags, which only increase carrying capacity, weren't nearly as essential in the face of widespread hunger. Please, it's time to sell the fishing rod. How about trading it back with 200 wood? Please. Xiao was begging you. Bro, don't push it too far. As soon as the 3-day protection period is up, you really want to burn this bridge completely. From pleading to threats, all within 5 minutes. Back when they were trapped by wild creatures, a single thunderberry was life-saving. Well, they might as well have been bitten to death by the wild dogs back then. Nothing Xiao could do about that. For now, Xiao listed a fresh batch of 100 grilled meat slabs, all available for beginner tools. Next to it, Bingley was seated by the fire pit, poking the flames with a sharpened stick. As Xiao pushed open the door, darkness greeted them. Only dim flickers of firelight from the gaps in the door and window frames spilled into the house. It'll feel noticeably better with a layer of fur on top. The elite wolf pelt, being larger, was folded in half and set aside to serve as a lightweight blanket. Back when Xiao used to deliver food, Xiao would scroll through short videos before Xiao slept. Now Xiao just do the same thing, but with survival channels instead. But at night, pleas for help and complaints took over. How cold does it get at night? His wooden shacks got gaps on all 4 sides. Xiao could leave his zone, and Xiao haven't gathered a single piece of wood. Xiao was starving to death here. Xiao would take anything. Maybe they were also shivering in some drafty shack. Things are a bit different here. Xiao had upgraded to a mid-tier wooden cabin. It has a bedroom now. Xiao turned off the channel without a second thought. The idea of lending a hand didn't even cross his mind. It wouldn't save anyone and would only drag him down with them. His years delivering food taught him one thing. Xiao withdrew his hand and turned to look at the bed. Bingley had already laid out the wolf pelt, smoothing out the wrinkles. Her icy blue hair flowed down her waist. Swaying gently with her movements, Xiao leaned against the island monument and looked at her for a moment. It wasn't that Xiao didn't want to, it was that Xiao couldn't afford to. Xiao might get swallowed whole by an island shark one day. Hell, falling asleep tonight doesn't guarantee Xiao would wake up tomorrow. Tomorrow's going to be busy. She walked to the edge of the bed, sat down, and removed the dimensional pouch from her waist, placing it by the pillow. Xiao turned to his side. She was lying on her back just an arm's length away. Her long hair spread across the wolf pelt. Bingley, would you reject him? His voice was quiet. There was a brief pause. No, she replied, flat and composed without the slightest hesitation. At some point, the campfire outside had burned out. The world was completely dark except for the faint purple light from the lighthouse. At least those years hadn't been lived in vain. His final thought wasn't about tomorrow's plans or the trial 3 days from now, or even the colossal shark larger than the island itself. Her icy blue hair spilling over the wolf pelt wick wrapped her tightly, leaving just half her face visible. Xiao stared at the wooden patterns on the ceiling, his lips curving slightly. Day 2 of island survival. All resource points have been refreshed. The epic lighthouse Is active island resource production plus 50%. The protection period still granted him a 2-day buffer, but the fourth notification. Rain Xiao pushed the door open, and the salty morning air hit him. Its tone had a faint teasing Lil Deep Blue thinks so. It floated to his shoulder, and lowered its voice mischievously. Xiao gave his pocket a firm pat, say another word, and Xiao would tie you to a fishing line as bait. Following her gaze, Xiao looked out at the lush greenery of the small forest nearby. Monsters are not part of renewable resources, the initial and elite beast on the island. Once you kill them, they're gone for good. That information is temporarily undisclosed, you'll find out when the time comes. His mind was working rapidly. But from today onward, aside from unreliable fishing or events, there'd be no new influx of meat supplies about to plummet while demand remains constant. At the time, Xiao thought Xiao was making a good deal. But now it looks like Xiao had made way more than Xiao ever expected. Sold iron hoe 1 earned iron ingot 10 sold cooked meat. 170 earned dimensional pouches x 12 fishing rods to dismantling skill. 2 appraisal skill 1. Switching over to the cooked meat market. The price has surged back from 115 last night to 120, with some outrageous listings going as high as 125. Xiao killed them all yesterday, and now they're gone for good. The wild boars are gone. To the resource nodes are back, but no animals. A perfect scene of newbie players collectively slapping their foreheads in despair. Xiao closed the chat with a blank expression. Good thing Xiao was quick. Yesterday, while everyone was panic selling raw meat, Xiao was buying today. As everyone scrambled to snatch it up, Xiao was waiting. The island monument lit up, encasing the entire cabin in radiant light. A gentle force guided him outside. As the foundation sank down, stone stacked higher and thicker. Upgraded to intermediate wooden cabin, unlocked fusion furnace. Protective dome expanded to a 6 meters radius. Now this feels like a proper place to live. Xiao placed his hand on the island monument. A new line popped up in the building menu. Xiao placed his palm against the warm surface of the furnace, and a new interface appeared. 3 input slots and a confirmation button. The runes began spinning rapidly as the 3 pouches were absorbed into the furnace, in shimmering white light. While the island monument storage was convenient, it couldn't be carried around. White dimensional pouches only reduced weight, but food would still start to spoil. A neat row of glowing green pouches now lined up in front of him. Can green ones be upgraded further? Nano bag green times 3 void storage bag blue times 1 success rate 90%. If you don't even dare to click at 90%, why bother trying to survive? The rune accelerator suddenly sped up. 3 green lights were drawn in, complete with a small delicate beast bone charm dangling from it. Xiao held his breath for a moment. Their weight far surpassed 90 inventory slots. Back-to-back 90% chance, the odds were 81%. The second void storage bag materialized well to blue void bags. Both bags with time-freezing abilities, one for him to wear, one for Bingley to use. One of these outclasses 3 portable warehouses. Blinding white light engulfed the intermediate wooden hut. The foundation dug deeper. Stone stacked to form a half-meter raised base. A nearly 80 square meter wooden house with 3 rooms stood tall at the center of the island. Wooden planks now lined the floor, and the windows transformed from tiny palm-sized holes into half-meter sliding windows complete with functional panels. Back to the living room to check the next upgrade. Traveling to other islands will have to wait until the protection period ends. By then others can come to his island and cause trouble too. It's something etched into Chinese DNA. A half-meter wooden fence enclosed each 5 by 10 meter plantation, while shallow channels directed rainfall toward a 500-liter storage tank. Xiao looked at the waiting for rain notice, his lips twitching slightly. The system forecasted moderate to heavy rainfall in 12 hours. Just in time. Bingley was busy over by the stone pile. Xiao didn't disturb her. Instead, Xiao headed towards the plantation on the west side and squatted down. The 50% production boost from the lighthouse was clearly visible here. Today, thanks to the production boost, 21.7 more, just as promised. A clear, tangible 50% increase. Xiao was crouched down adding firewood when Xiao looked up. In triple S level talent allows for 1 free card draw per day. A card pool interface appeared out of thin air. No newbie bonus this time. Just a single lonely card back suspended there. It had a sleek, boxy design with sharp angular lines. Its matte black composite material looked imposing, yet refined. Xiao picked it up. Xiao examined it from every angle, instantly enamored with it. There's no greater thrill for a man than the romance of a gun. Xiao tucked the handgun into the back of his waistband, the metal's cold surface against his skin reassuring. Xiao gathered 100 pieces of cooked meat and replaced them with 100 pieces of raw meat. More people capable of starting fires meant more people selling cooked food. But the upstream meat supply had bottlenecked. When's the rain starting today? Don't tell him. Xiao was going to get drenched out here finally. Some water to drink. Even digging a water catchment pit takes a hoe. Xiao had been hacking away with a mining pickaxe. For hours his hands are raw. Iron hoes became an overnight hot commodity used for digging pits to store water, or building plantations no one could do without them. Grilled meat times 50 exchange for 12 units of stone or 2 iron ingots. Next, Xiao listed some thunder pork fruit for trade. Thunder pork fruit 18 exchange for a fishing rod, a dimensional pouch, or a skill book. Mark as read. Delete. Xiao switched to the regional channel and typed out a new announcement. 100 units of grilled meat are now available. Every step Xiao had taken these past few days, stockpiling meat, monopolizing grills, holding on to blueprints, has boiled down to the same strategy. Give some to the people trying to fend off wild beasts. Here they go again. Virtue signalers logging on. Dude selling, not robbing, profiting off fellow survivors, huh? They poured in all at once, but the harsher the criticism, the stronger the demand. If the items weren't valuable, nobody would even bother. Back in his old life, working myself into the ground, delivering food just to make ends meet. Most of them were questions about exchanging basic resources for roasted meat or fruits. But one stood out. Xiao had learned to make barrels myself. There's still some time before the rains come, and there's still a chance to get the blueprint. Trading 10 barrels for 1 fruit isn't a bad deal. What Xiao did see though was a rising demand for the thunder dolphin fruit. Then Xiao went indoors to check his trading logs. Who would trade it for a piece of meat unless they're desperate and on the brink of starvation? Thunder dolphin fruits, however, flew off the virtual shelves. Xiao walked over to the workbench and crafted 30 iron hoes. The pricing strategy was simple. Xiao set the cost of 1 hoe to iron hoe times 30. Lord Xiao's hoes are finally up for trade. 10 iron ingots per hoe. Are you robbing them? His plantation's been stuck for half a day. Gain iron ingots to 140, clay x 20, glass 30, vines 10. Less than 10 minutes, and they were gone. Now that is what you call necessity. Way more profitable than grilled meat if there's a demand. It's best to sell early once others unlock the blueprint. The profit margin won't be as good. She handed him a dimensional bag along with the card appraisal. Lucky Fusion Card Superior. When used as a supplementary material during high-quality item fusion. An axe, a pickaxe, 112 of each, wood, thatch, and stone, 3 hemp ropes. 2 bottles of milk, 1 bundle of wormwood, 50 tomato seeds, and 10 copper ingots. Here for you. You'll only gather more in the future. And the white bag's too small. This one is 90 slots. Store whatever you want. She left, and the workstation's steady hum. Now quiet room. The iron tools were still being produced. You said the same thing last time. Master adults only care about returns. Xiao looked at the 2 newly crafted blue bags, then at the one tied to his waist. The fusion furnace only processes the container, not the contents inside. Why didn't you tell him earlier? Xiao almost threw his entire savings into the furnace. Xiao turned the bags inside out, shook them to confirm they were empty, and then tossed the 3 blue bags into the fusion furnace. How does this thing work? Xiao pressed it onto the furnace. The card dissolved in a green glow, merging into the machine. Lucky Fusion Card successfully applied. The low continuous hum from the machine lasted much longer than with blue fusions. At least 3 times as long. Suddenly, the humming stopped. Xiao won't even have to use his hands to pick things up anymore. Wow. The first perfect grade storage item in the entire game. Just a single thought was enough to collect everything within a 3 meters range. It was incredibly convenient. Storage space 8 out of 270 slots. This is too good. Trading for iron ingot 10, or vines 10, or clay 10, or glass 10. Xiao casually checked his grilled meat sale records. Grilled meat 100 sold. Beast bones, on the other hand, an item without any immediate use, traded like hotcakes. Works for him. Xiao would just use them to make more hoes. People were even fishing up pet summon cards. The loot table for fishing was way more varied than Xiao imagined. Xiao switched to private messages. Same goes for container schematics. Containers are in high demand. Didn't manage to trade for what Xiao wanted, but it wasn't disappointing because Xiao found something interesting instead. The spring is an independent buff source based on a daily yield of 21 thunder fruits. There's a special resource node on his island. It produces one for 100 milliliters daily. This has the potential for a long-term partnership. What's the trade like? The other side fell silent for a while. Then what's your price, if it's reasonable? Xiao could supply regularly. The words supply regularly were music to his ears. 3 thunder fruits, but for 200 milliliters. Xiao would save 200 milliliters for emergencies. She then sent a friend request. Establishing connections with a reliable supplier is always a good idea. Did you make this clay pot yourself? She sent him to empty clay jars, which Xiao accepted. Perfect for holding the spirit spring water and making future trades more convenient. The roaring began again. Xiao casually grabbed a hose, still warm from crafting, and sent them off to Sun Manga via the island steel. Once they're done, They'll stack there on their own. The real value here wasn't just the 200 milliliters of spirit spring water this time. The gray-white clouds on the horizon had thickened even more since Xiao got up the sea breeze. Carried a sticky sword of humidity. No point in letting them take up inventory space here. Eat something first, Xiao said. Bingley took them and glanced at the packaging with mild curiosity. Together, they enjoyed their industrially produced modern breakfast in the sea breeze. After finishing, Xiao walked towards the plantation on the west side of the island. Any more than that won't stack, it'll just go to waste, so 200 milliliters will last for 12 days. Just thinking about it is exhilarating. 30 wood, 10 glass, 10 cloth, 30 stone, a can of cola, 2 oranges, and 1 glowing green card. A praise bullhorse summon card summons 1 bullhorse worker only to meals a day, and a simple shelter to perform long-term basic labor. Xiao stared at the last line. Back then, Xiao was the ultimate laborer, but hey, at least Xiao had commission-based earnings. The design of the bull and horse on the card lit up as green light seeped out. To be specific, a creature with a bull's head, a horse's snout, and a human body. It wore rough, short clothing, a grass belt, and straw sandals. It looked down at its own hands before turning to face him. Boss, what's the task? Xiao would like the boss to give him one. Xiao looked at its indescribable face and suppressed the wave of ridiculous names that came to mind. Note, please treat your bull horse worker kindly. No problem as long as it works. Xiao had Bingley and a gun for fighting. A hut that keeps out the wind and rain is sufficient. Let's start with meals, then build the shelter. Xiao turned to Bull 1. Xiao led Bull 1 toward the wooden cabin next to the stove. Bingley crouched, flipping pieces of meat. The moment she heard footsteps, she looked up. Bull 1, being sharpied, grinned and greeted her. The name's Bull 1. Please take good care of him. Bingley glanced at him, her eyebrows quirking slightly. Boss, this is delicious. No one's taking it from you, Xiao said, returning to the cabin. The workstation kept humming away. Iron hose popped out one after another. Not bad, but still way slower than the previous batch's sellout speed. Xiao searched for listings of iron hose. Iron hoe trade for 9 iron ingots. Xiao felt a twinge of frustration. They've already started making shovels, huh? For basic tasks like digging rain collection pits, shovels beat hose hands down. If Xiao kept holding firm at a price of 10 iron ingots, sales would only continue to drop. Xiao switched to the channel. Xiao got a made card. Fellow survivors, Xiao officially declares Xiao was no longer single. Seems like there are all kinds of summoning cards. The fishing system seemed to be handing out cards en masse, although most of them were lower-tier white cards. Iron hoe times 67 trade for 8 iron ingots, 8 vines, 8 clay, or 8 glass, same as the price of a shovel. Xiao also threw 298 cooked meats up for trading. While Xiao was at it, cooked meat times to 198. Just go straight for a basic wooden cabin. There's plenty of wood and straw on the southern part of the island. There's about 20 meters of open land. Drill practically hitting the ground. Stop staring and get to work. Xiao tossed in the iron shovel. An a-ho. Bingley lifted her head, confusion glinting in her icy blue eyes. Not digging any pits on the west side. Otherwise, if you run out of land, you'll have to start dismantling things. Bingley tilted her head slightly. What kind of difference does it make? With Bingley and firearms, Xiao had got self-defense covered just fine. Food gives security, and security gives options. Walls and arrow towers can wait. With Bingley and her gun, they have all the muscle they need for now. Back inside, Xiao activated the island monument and entered the build menu. Using the shelter as the access point, Xiao, the plantation layout includes 9 plots, all planned on the west side. If expansion is needed, another row can easily be added outward without affecting the farmland. Even if buildings are added later, Xiao tapped 9 times, and the water problem is basically solved. The workbench buzzed with the notification. Iron hoe 267 crafted. Iron hoe times to 150 for tradable for 8 iron ingots, 8 vines, 8 clay, or 8 glass. Thankfully, the system avoids existing plants when preparing soil, so the tree roots remain undisturbed. After finishing the pits, Xiao took out 5 seeds, 1 for each hole, covered them with soil, tamped down, and poured spirit spring water over each. So, did the 500 milliliters of spirit spring water just go to waste? The seeds haven't even sprouted. 48 hours to bear fruit is nothing compared to the instant gratification of pulling cards or opening loot boxes. To make managing the plots easier, Xiao named all 10 of them soon enough. Xiao would be planting even more crops. Xiao dug out some charcoal from the extinguished fire pit, then whittled small palm-sized wooden plaques. But won't the charcoal markings wash away with a little rain? If it washes away, Xiao would write them again. Not a big deal. 30 stones, 2 units of drinking water, 10 copper ingots, 50 wheat seeds, 10 vines, and 10 linen cloths. The whole island is just mud right now, and when it rains, it's a swamp. The lid flipped open. Blue light breaking into sparkling particles inside the chest lay a single card face up. His grip on the card tightened, guaranteed blue or better. What would happen if Xiao tried fusing the fishing rods? Xiao was not sure. On the other hand, it could also just combine the three into one without any upgrades, which would be a total loss for you. For now, sticking to industrial-scale fishing is the safest play back at the cabin. Xiao added the blueprints for the paved stone path to the island monument. Xiao set the starting point at the cabin door and the endpoint directly towards the western cliff. A white glow pierced through walls and landed on the ground. The turf was compacted, and gravel materialized from thin air, forming a smooth gray path. Returning to the cabin, 192 stones remain. Let's do one for the east, south, and north, too. For gray paths extended in a cross pattern from the cabin, reaching the cliffs at each end. Dividing the island into 4 zones, the west was the plantation. Roasted meat times to 198 sold 321 Os. Were exchanged for 2,060 for iron ingots and a pile of rare materials. Breaking into a market monopoly requires absolute dominance. With standard tool blueprints being common drops, price wars are inevitable for a quick payout. Xiao played even more ruthlessly. Now that Xiao would exchanged a large batch of vines, it's time to put them to use. Fishing basket common. I requires rope 1 vine 5. Once tossed into the water, they only need to be checked daily. A small but promising source of extra income. Xiao picked a gentle slope and placed the fishing baskets every 3 to 4 meters. Heavy clouds amassed overhead. The sea breeze grew stronger, whipping his clothes relentlessly. Boss, the pits are all dug. He had tirelessly dug to large pits in each of the 3 directions in just one day. Grinning sheepishly, Bull 1 took the roasted meat and headed toward the wooden huts on the southern side. Xiao looked up at the sky. Over by the stoves, Bingley was just finishing packing the last few pieces of roasted meat into storage jars. They had used up all 483 pieces of beast bones, and the production line had automatically shut off. Xiao brought up the day's trade summary. Meanwhile, 700 pieces of roasted meat were traded for 22,000 wood, 20,000 thatch, 10,000 stone, and 33 bundles of rope. Xiao switched to the market to check the real-time listings for hose. The screen was flooded with panic sales. With the rainstorm approaching, those who hadn't built plantations or dug pits were scrambling for survival, causing hoe demand to tank dramatically. Even the discounted sales later on didn't hurt him given the cost breakdown. There was no way to lose money on this batch. These 4 things, not a single one can be missing. There are 296 pieces of roasted meat left. Xiao had set aside 96. Every preparation could mean life or death. Stocking up on some animal hides can't hurt. Xiao switched the channel and skimmed through a few messages. Xiao stretched his stiff neck outside. The wind was howling louder and louder, and the wooden walls creaked under pressure. How do you open this? Xiao helped her pop it open, and the hiss of carbonation filled the otherwise quiet room. Leaning against the wall, Xiao watched her drink in small, measured sips and couldn't resist saying it's even better chilled. She glanced at him. The bubbles felt sharper, the sweetness pure, and the burst of fizz raced down her throat. This tastes great, she said. Xiao took it and drank honestly. In this god-forsaken world, without even running water, having an ice-cold soda felt like a moment of pure triumph. The world now consisted only of the pouring rain and the roar of the waves. The same storm hitting a prepared person and an unprepared one has vastly different outcomes. Luck is never fair, but preparation can be. His wooden shack's roof caved and his shack collapsed, and the thatch was blown away. Xiao did not even have a shack. No medicine equals game over. Screams, pleas for help, despair, and breakdowns. Upgrading to an entry-level wooden hut required 100 wood, 100 thatch, and 20 stone altogether. 110 wood, 110 thatch, and 20 stone. An upgrade kit and an emergency piece of roasted meat, traded for beginner gear with massive potential. A steal for him to those struggling in the storm. Someone immediately replied, "It's Big Boss Xia." His body temps already dropping once the atmosphere was set. Xiao slowly typed his second message. Xiao was a soft-hearted guy. Could people still exist? The gratitude lasted only a moment once people saw the trade terms. The tone shifted drastically. This is highway robbery. Xiao would rather freeze to death than give up his fishing rod. He's offering you a way to live, and you're complaining. Xiao stared at the screen, trading freely, taking what you need. Obtain dimensional bag x1. The notifications popped up at a steady rhythm. Obtain dimensional bag time 128. Fishing rod 66. Appraisal skill 3. Dismantling skill 3. Nobody would trade a fishing rod for a pile of wood scraps anymore. Switching to private messages. Things were blowing up. Got any more, boss? His measly 200 packs weren't even a drop in the bucket. Making money like this beats robbing people any day. Nothing stings like comparison. Those who wasted their time cursing him out and missed out on his resource packs with roasted meat were now kicking themselves. Somehow, this guy lucked into unlocking the blueprint for an iron home and has been hard at work since morning as one of the sellers competing with him on prices. Tallying up what was left, Xiao decided to 13 packs with roasted meat included. They were snatched up within seconds. Before Xiao even left the interface, resource packs X13 all sold out. Just now, they were boycotting and trash talking, and in the blink of an eye, they're fighting over them. All right, stop with the salty sarcasm. Xiao walked toward the fusion furnace. Time to get to real business. 138 white pouches fused 3 at a time, making 46 green pouches. Second round, 3 greens to 1 blue, 90% rate theoretically. 46 greens should yield 15 blues one batch after another, and 15 blue pouches were spread out on the ground theoretically. 15 blues could fuse into 5 oranges. Just thinking about it gets him hyped. But that's just wishful thinking. An 80% success rate still means there's a 20% chance of losing everything. And Xiao had to endure being called a heartless profiteer. To collect these, losing them would make him cry blood. Xiao didn't dare go further. Xiao was no gambler. Even though his hands are itching, leave it for now. Xiao could gamble with his life, but not with his assets. Deep Blue floated over Master 81 white fishing rods. Upgrading white rods to green is 100% risk-free. 81 rods, giving him 243 casts a day, is his most reliable income source. What if 3 rods become 1, but still only get 3 casts a day? That would be a huge loss. And by then, this quantity advantage won't hold up. If Xiao wanted to stay ahead of the game, Xiao could play it to safe. Find 3 cast out of day fish across realms, where everything is catchable. Slightly increases success rate and chance of green treasure boxes. Combining 3 white level rods results in 1 green rod. This reduces the daily total attempts from 9 down to 3. The improvement in success rate means the chances of getting nothing have dropped. Sure, you're sacrificing quantity, but you're trading it for quality. White chests mostly contain basic resources. Green chests guarantee rare materials, cards, or blueprints. White rods can only ever fish for blue chest, and the odds are abysmal. Just 1 orange chest might be worth more than 100 white ones. Combined, even 10 white chests couldn't match the value of today's cobblestone road blueprint. Xiao couldn't rely on brute force tactics forever early on. Quantity helps you snowball progress, but to stay ahead, Xiao needed to transition to quality. It's a waste you're not working in sales. Deep Blue made no indication of being offended. Xiao dumped all 78 white rods out of his bag and started combining them in batches. It was 100% success. She didn't crack the mystery, but eventually walked up to him. Are you combining all your rods into green ones? By the 3rd day, the regional channel stopped treating Xiao as merely expensive and began discussing him as a target worth raiding. Madabao openly announced a coalition of 14 attackers, including players with combat talents and unusual spirit fruits. One participant carried a temporary shield fruit, another controlled wind arrows, and another offered poison fog for the assault. They planned to travel by boat after beginner protection ended, collect the group, and overwhelm Xiao through numbers. Several spectators encouraged the attack because they wanted the epic lighthouse and resented the prices Xiao had charged during emergencies. Ma Kai, who regretted an earlier trade, joined the campaign and demanded photographs of Xiao's defeat. Xiao answered once, warning every participant to remember what they had written because he was recording all of it. The raiders laughed harder. Convinced distance and their future fleet prevented him from doing anything before they arrived. Deep Blue documented 47 hostile accounts, including 14 players who explicitly promised to join the attack. Bingley responded with calm simplicity when Xiao explained the situation. Anyone coming to kill them would be killed first. Her certainty cooled his anger, allowing Xiao to study the threat instead of wasting energy arguing with strangers. Near the northern cliff, he noticed that the closest island had moved hundreds of meters since the lighthouse first revealed it. Deep Blue confirmed that beginner islands drifted roughly 100 meters daily, without any owner controlling their direction. Eventually, territories would collide, forcing their monuments into a confrontation that only one island could survive. The victor absorbed the loser's land and resource points, making conquest the primary path toward building a massive territory. That rule explained why alliances formed so quickly, and why isolated owners would eventually become prey. Xiao's lighthouse, spirit tree, farms, warehouses, and epic structures represented an irresistible prize under those mechanics. Remaining peaceful would not remove danger because drifting islands and greedy factions would bring conflict to him anyway. Then Destiny Draw's daily cooldown ended, and Xiao activated a rare guarantee card before choosing his next fate card. 9 starback cards appeared, but the guarantee destroyed the weakest outcomes and preserved only rare possibilities. Xiao selected the center card, and purple light erupted higher than the lighthouse beam. The reward became an epic Sky's Edge teleportation platform, a structure capable of targeting islands through their unique identification numbers. Once placed, it could open a two-way channel for 60 minutes and transport authorized people across any distance. The platform could activate once each day, which limited frequency but made every use strategically overwhelming. Xiao immediately understood that the raiders had made a catastrophic mistake. By threatening him through profiles connected to their island numbers, they were gathering boats for tomorrow, while he had just acquired the ability to appear inside their territory without crossing the sea. The protection barriers still prevented him from taking their monuments immediately, so Xiao resisted wasting the platform on an early reveal. Waiting one day preserved surprise and ensured his first visit could create permanent consequences. He installed the octagonal structure on the eastern field, away from farms and the lighthouse. 8 violet crystals rose around a black rune-covered platform. As purple energy spread through the ground, Bull 1 stared at the formation, without understanding that his employer had just erased the meaning of distance. Deep Blue confirmed that unauthorized people could not activate the platform, preventing enemies from using the return channel against Xiao. Xiao opened the blacklist and copied every recorded island number into a private notebook. Most raiders lived relatively close, but even distant targets became equally reachable through the formation. One island might sit beyond the horizon, yet its owner was now only a correct identification number away. Xiao also hid his own number in the monument settings, reducing the chance that another long-range ability could target him. The server announcement had already exposed his memorable number, but limiting future visibility still reduced unnecessary danger. His enemies believed they had announced an invasion. In reality, they had delivered a complete list of destinations. The Alliance, Island Collision Rules, and teleportation platform changed the conflict from defensive survival into controlled counter-pressure. For the first time, Xiao possessed the means to choose where the next battle would happen, and the men celebrating in chat had no idea their islands were already written beside an active epic portal. In just a few more hours, they'd be ready for harvest. If anything, it seemed to have boosted its growth when Xiao reached plantation number 2. Xiao stopped in his tracks. Their thin stems were flopping over, several of them sprawling towards the ground, tangling together into a mess of vines. Without a proper trellis, the whole patch of land was overrun with fruit growing so close to the ground that harvesting was nearly impossible. All 3 orchards were thriving, and the satisfaction of the farmer reached its peak. Deep Blue. Will tonight's frost affect the seedlings quite a bit? It's just a waste, but don't worry about the ones planted last night. Once they've harvested this batch, will they refresh daily like resource points? Ordinary crops are single-use. Once they're harvested, the plants wither. Only the seeds generated by the main system can be used for replanting. Xiao paused for a moment. Single use, no seed saved. Every single seed was a consumable resource. Use one, and you'll have one less. So, you're saying seeds are going to be a hard currency? The 5 seeds Xiao planted yesterday afternoon had also sprouted, pushing up half a meter of tender saplings. The 5 new ones Xiao planted, are they also single use? Thunderborkern fruit trees are spiritual plants capable of bearing fruit repeatedly, except for a very few cases. That was enough for him. 6 Thunderborkern fruit trees were essentially a continuous source of resources. Xiao took out the container of the spiritual spring and poured 100 milliliters around the base of each tree, using up the remaining 600 milliliters perfectly. Today's weather was perfect for fishing. 20 for green rods, and 1 blue rod lay spread out before him. Master, you haven't used that guaranteed luck card yet. Want to use it on this blue rod? Using a guaranteed luck card to bet on a chance between at least blue and at most purple felt like a waste. Fishing rods at most could bring in purple chests. The fake gacha was different. Its upper limit unknown. What if luck decided to show off? 1 placed every meter with 25 rods lying along the cliff. A synchronized countdown starts. Those 2 pieces of elite wolf meat have a faint glow and are noticeably firmer. Sprinkle a little salt on the elite ones. The 2 of them stood by the door eating roasted meat and drinking water, finishing a quick breakfast. Hey, that rain last night didn't mess up your spring, right? Xiao fortified it earlier with stones and clay, plus set up a cover to block the rain. Today's batch is already collected. She knows how to protect her core resources. Definitely someone worth collaborating with long-term. The usual trade rules. On her end, she offered a jar containing 200 milliliters of spirit spring water, along with 2 additional empty jars. The spirit spring water is enough to irrigate for the next 2 days, and the Thunder Pig fruits production is stable. Most of them were requests to buy roasted meat or Thunder Pig fruits, but still no sign of the bullet schematic Xiao was looking for. Just 7 wood and 320 thatch remaining. Xiao put up 97 pieces of roasted meat, trade for 20 wood or 20 thatch. Could be a monster invasion, natural disaster, or even player versus player combat. Thunderpig fruits are an area of effect weapon, and a last resort lifeline. Switching to the regional channel, what'll happen when the newbie protection period ends? The system mentioned a survival trial but didn't give specifics. An elf hinted the temperature might drop below freezing if your shelter isn't sealed. You'll get frostbite in a single night. With how much that Xiao Chunan has been raking in these last couple of days, can't someone give him a good beating? Anyone up for teaming up? Xiao caught a top-tier small wooden boat yesterday. He's right next door, and Xiao had been on edge these past 2 days, might as well strike first. His lighthouse's purple glow kept him awake all night. Let him in on this with the boat. Once the protection's off, they strike. The same loudmouth from yesterday's channel chatter are back at it. Tomorrow, the protection period ends while their eyes are on his lighthouse and thunderfish fruit. Xiao was watching to see who dares step onto his island first. They're just openly plotting right in front of him in the region channel of all places. Hello, 9,000 plus players can see this. He could wipe you all with just one blast. Finally, someone with common sense, but alas, voices of reason rarely last long in chaos like this. Take this for example. Turtle shield fruit, crush it to trigger a temporary shield. Next up, Zhao Dajuan chimed in with another pick. Xiao thought the thunderfish fruit was already over the top. Turns out, there's no shortage of even more bizarre things. The channel exploded with activity. How many thunderfish fruits does he even have to throw at them? Mao then dropped another bombshell. Xiao made a group chat so far. 14 confirmed participants. 14 against 1 guaranteed win. Xiao was utterly speechless, typing calmly. Xiao sent out his message. You're plotting this so openly, not even trying to keep it discreet. They're blatantly telling you because there's nothing you can do about it. Then Ma Kai joined in. Xiao Chunan, looks like your time's up. Dealing sustained damage for 30 seconds, giving Ma to Bolo 5 for free, just asking you guys to finish the fight. Turtle shield for tanking, poison fog to block positioning, wind arrows for long-range kills. Who could withstand this combo? Trying to gain from others' misfortune. What's wrong with these people randomly targeting him like Xiao had committed some heinous crime? Xiao may have priced his items a bit high, but what about those who jumped on the bandwagon selling resource bundles last night? They were even greedier than Xiao was. Why single him out? You want to mess with him, huh? Xiao would play along. Otherwise, Xiao would hunt each one of you down and trust him. That'll get messy. The mockery only intensified. The greedy merchant is mad now. Xiao didn't reply further, turning to Deep Blue, his AI assistant. Xiao commanded, record everyone who made hostile remarks just now, don't miss a single one. Opening the door, Xiao stepped out into the night. The sea breeze slipped through his collar, chilly and biting. Backtracking after the trade. What is this? A farmer's market where you return vegetables for being overpriced, and those neighboring islands, whose residents are now threatening him. Yet instead of gratitude, they talk about ganging up on him. A pack of ungrateful opportunists. Guess developing a well is also considered a crime. Then let's kill them. The chill from her palm quenched half the fire raging in his chest. Getting angry over senseless people not worth his time. Passing by a rainwater collection pit dug by one of his helpers, Bull 1. Xiao noticed both pits had filled up completely after last night's rain. Judging by its size, 2 meters by 2 meters and a meter deep, each pit could store at least 4.0 L of water. Xiao walked to the edge of the cliff. The 6 ropes were still securely wedged in the rock crevices, their color darkened after soaking overnight. Silver needlefish. Common tinder meat yield, 2 servings of fish meat per fish, just common gray fish, but better than nothing. Pouring it out, there were 3 fish again, one of which was larger and emerald green, its scales emitting a faint green glow. If these can be mass-produced, their value would far surpass ordinary grilled meat, which feels mundane after a while. These spirit fish that enhance attributes provide actual combat power boosts. If Xiao put them up in the trading hall, they definitely get snatched up. The harvest, a total of 11 silver needlefish for emerald base, 1 rock armor crab, and a bundle of seaweed. If Xiao scaled up to 60 or 600, alright, calm down now, don't get carried away. The nearest island was closer than it was the day before when Xiao had set up the lighthouse. Today's back, it was over 500 meters out. Each was larger and had shifted positions compared to before, their directions varying without rhyme or reason. The islands were moving. Are these islands moving? Basic islands lack propulsion and move around 100 meters a day, completely uncontrollable in direction, so eventually they'll collide with each other. When 2 islands collide, the victor takes over all the territory and resource points of the loser, instantly doubling the size of their island. The losing island's monument shatters and its territory is absorbed by the victor island's size. Doesn't grow out of thin air. And you might just piece together a massive super island mainland players all have a shot. Like raising poisonous insects where only one survives in the end. Xiao did not even trust the guy next door walking back along the gravel path. His mind raced to process the information. The rules here were brutal. The group that threatened to gang up on him might not all be crazy. Trying to hold on to an island alone will eventually get you swallowed by alliances. Unless you're strong enough to crush everyone single-handedly. Pretty much irresistible to anyone, but then again, being tempted only gets you so far. You still need the guts and strength. Xiao made his way under the lighthouse and the deep blue light flickered twice. Fate draw cooldown is up 1 and draw a card. A guaranteed luck card has been activated. It's bound to your next probability-based event. A set of 9 shimmering cards appeared, forming an arc in midair. If luck hit orange, even better. But no point being greedy. Xiao tapped the one in the middle, and the other 6 shattered like glass. A burst of purple light exploded outward, shooting into the sky, and overpowering even the purple glow of the lighthouse. His pupils contracted. Before Xiao relaxed, its surface was etched with dense labyrinth and runes glowing faintly purple, and 8 rotating purple crystals adorned its edges. Appraisal skill: far away, so close. Description: so distant yet within reach. Xiao stared at it double and triple checking just to be sure. Good thing Xiao didn't impulsively waste his guaranteed card on something like a fishing rod. But fate draw, it handed him a guaranteed epic building outright with this. Xiao could teleport directly to someone's island if Xiao felt like taking them down, smash, and grab, and bounce out before they even figure out what Xiao looked like. No need to go through all that trouble. Xiao would personally pay them a little visit tomorrow. How did Xiao check someone's island number? As Xiao fiddled with the formation disc, the more Xiao looked at it, the more perfect it seemed. Like it was made for tomorrow's fight. Where should it go? West side has the plantation, and there's a lighthouse to the north. The grass is slippery from the rain, but it's half the distance compared to taking the gravel path. The little forest on the east side had already been cleared out completely, leaving behind nothing but neatly smoothed tree stumps. Axe slung over his shoulder, sweat dripping from his forehead. His big old bovine face radiating the satisfaction of hitting his daily KP as boss. What brings you here? Xiao waved him off mid-sentence and walked straight through the field of stumps. He paused for a moment, then eagerly trailed behind him. As soon as Xiao let go, the stone disc lit up with a sudden burst of purple glow. 8 purple crystals hovered at each vertex, rotating slowly. The second epic tier structure in the whole area. Bull 1 stared at it for a while, gulping visibly. Boss, what the heck is that thing? Input the target island number and activate the teleportation channel. Duration 60 minutes per activation. Both sides can pass through during the active period. Unauthorized people stepping on it would just be standing on a rock. Saves him the trouble of someone using it against him. Even if Xiao killed them, the golden shield covering their island wouldn't disappear. Xiao wouldn't be able to get him break their island, steal, or take their core. A gentleman's revenge is never rushed, and a single day won't make it late. Boss, today's work is all done. Each type 110 units. Xiao stored everything into his Qinyuan storage bag, leaving just 10 units of wood for him. Bingley placed 300 pieces of freshly cooked meat onto the stone countertop. Xiao grabbed 3 pieces and a bottle of water, tossing them over to Bull 1. Bull 1's horse-shaped face practically twitched with happiness. And thanks to the lady boss for her hard work. To Bingley, as always, ignored him completely. Earn with times 940. A moment later, his previously emptied storage was replenished. Xiao uploaded another 297 pieces of cooked meat for trade, with a frost warning in effect. Warmth was priority number 1. The demand for wood and thatch could only climb from here. Xiao searched the market for limestone. Limestone in the market came only from fishing loot, and the yield was so low that anything listed got snatched up instantly. Anyone selling quilts or thick animal hides. Xiao could trade iron ingots, paying top prices for limestone, offering iron ingots. Or blueprints. Desperately need campfire blueprints. They didn't even make a ripple in the ocean of hundreds of thousands of players. Xiao opened up his blacklist and began checking the ID numbers individually. Jiangmang region 888,666,652. Jiaodai Wang region 888,666,006. Numbers were fairly close together, likely assigned based on arrival order. Close ID numbers probably meant they were geographically close too. He was a world away from him, enough to feel like 108, 0 me. Xiao spent a few minutes carefully copying down all 47 IDs of the raiders. That Deep Blue had recorded, not one was left out. Deep Blue, these island ID numbers, are they basically like player character IDs in a game? Indeed. Island tablet IDs are unique and exclusive. The person is gone. His eyes shifted slightly. Even if you kill the person, the protective shield will still be there. You won't be able to enter the monument zone or retrieve the core. making the trip a waste. So much for exploiting that loophole. Xiao managed to draw a building with precise teleportation based on the number today. Who knows if other people could have similar things. This exposed ID would be like painting a bullseye on his back. It can be hidden in the monument settings. Xiao was stunned for a moment before realization hit him. This system is just too cruel. If Xiao had known it would be this troublesome, Xiao wouldn't have wanted it in the first place. If it wasn't for Mao and his group stirring trouble, they just naturally scream, lucky targets that knee. Ed to be snuffed out early. It's simply human nature. It's the constant attention thieves give to their marks. Your number is now hidden from other players. Xiao felt slightly relieved. Ever since learning about items like Sky's Edge that could strike over vast distances, Xiao had genuinely feared the thought of being unexpectedly nuked out of the blue. With 6 baskets soaking overnight, netting them for Jade Perch, such a passive zero-cost income is practically criminal to not scale up. Heading to the northern cliff, Xiao tossed all 33 baskets one by one into the ocean, securing the hemp ropes into rock crevices. Even if each basket catches just one fish, that's several dozen portions of meat secured. Passing by plantation number 2, Bull 1 was busy at work. He had tied up most of the tomato vines, and they were now standing upright on poles, looking far better than the chaotic mess they had been earlier in the morning. Then to the western cliff, Xiao had the countdown hit 0. Xiao reeled them in one by one. Glimmering emerald green experience gem rare used to gain 100 experience instantly. Wait, this world has items that directly add experience points. Bingley gains experience by defeating monsters. She doesn't need this little bit. You can't just hide behind her all the time as a mascot, can you? They had a point. Though Xiao could spend his life hiding behind women and acting like dead weight. A luck fusion card, save it for later, and another green crate containing 50 lime powder. Xiao paused for a moment. The next catches included 30 wood, 10 glass panels, and a green crate containing the perfectly timed beast hide coat blueprint. Wearing this significantly enhances warmth and protects against the cold. Xiao let out a smirk. Next, 10 vines, another luck fusion card, an empty rod, 3 ropes, and 1 soda. Lucky Bingley will enjoy this. Pea shooter seeds, a rare extraordinary spirit plant defense type. Range 20 meters, sunlight dependent, unable to attack in cloudy or rainy weather. Are you kidding him? This is straight out of Plants vs. Zombies. Images of rows of pea shooters firing shiny green peas on a lawn instantly popped into his head. Whoever designed this had some imagination, Xiao continued. Now, with the beast hide coat blueprint and cotton in hand, Xiao would definitely be able to make a fortune tonight. When Xiao started pulling, the fishing line went taut, much tighter than any of the previous rods. A rare blue crate surfaced. It can also be used for cooking from 25 cast, 7 empty rods, 10 white tier, 7 green tier, and 1 blue tier. A total success rate of over 70%. Empty rod rate was less than 30%. Green tier, or better, accounted for over 40%. Xiao started counting on his fingers a couple of days ago with 81. And if luck strikes, maybe even a blue one if that's how it breaks down. Xiao was taking a loss here. You can't calculate it like that. No matter how many white chests you open, basic materials can't even be exchanged for a single blueprint of a blue fireplace. And remember, this is just the first round. Over time, the accumulated value of green and blue chests will only grow exponentially. And if one day you happen to stumble upon one, the little bit you think you're losing now won't even amount to a penny of the value you gain then. Casting his line again, the second round begins. Heading back to the cabin, Xiao slapped the blueprints onto the island monument. Unlocked fur coat fireplace. Bringing up the stats for the fireplace. He requires 500 stone, 100 clay, 50 iron ingots, 1 flint. Xiao checked the basic stone house requirements. A requires advanced wooden house, 2000 wood, 2000 stone, 100 quicklime stone walls. Adds a dedicated kitchen and bathroom. If luck is on his side, Xiao could gather enough before nightfall. Once Xiao had enough, Xiao would upgrade to the stone house, then build the fireplace. For coat he requires 1 fur, 1 linen, 5 cotton. Xiao had got ample resources. 83 fur, 20 linen, 50 cotton. Cotton's the bottleneck here, so Xiao could make a maximum of 10 coats. Xiao max it out and confirm. Deep brown on the outside, lined with fur inside, stuffed with cotton in the middle, and wrapped in windproof linen on the exterior. The sleeve cuffs are decently tailored, though the waist is a little loose still. It more than does the job of blocking the wind. While the code Xiao was holding now is just another one of 10 mass-produced items to him. In the eyes of desperate players scrambling for any warm gear, this code is a literal lifesaver. The value isn't in the item itself, it's in who got a production line going first. Being ahead is never about being the fastest at the finish, it's about starting when others haven't even realized the race began. 3060 thatch times 28.80. The numbers look great, and the inventory is fully stocked in one go. Go ahead and list it for sale. Animal skin jacket 10 trade for 50 cotton or 30 linen. Does the boss only take raw materials? Plus, cotton is rare in supply to mass produce these jackets. You have to trade goods for raw materials, pooling scattered resources from households. Ever since the frost warning, the entire channel hasn't stopped buzzing about warm Xiao Chun and restocking again. 3 out of 10 just got snapped up in seconds. Seems like the weather forecast is tailor-made for him. Who cares whose kid he is? It's keeping them alive. Last one just sold. Animal skin jacket times 10 sold. Gain 300 cotton. 120 linen sold out in under 3 minutes. Head over to the workbench. Craft animal skin jacket times 60 consuming 60 animal skin. 60 linen, 300 cotton. While waiting, Xiao pulled out the experience gem. For points, Xiao rub his eyes. Hey. Deep blue ice class players with S-level potential get 10 points per level. Talent determines what you're capable of. Your fate card draw ability is from your talent. Potential determines how much power your body can handle. Attribute points per level depend on your potential rank, not your talent grade. So, basically, Xiao had got maxed out talent, but a noob level body. To be polite, let's just say you've got a god tier cheat, but wrapped in a starter level newbie shell. Thanks so much for being polite. Attribute points available for talent fate gotcha draw unique triple S skills identification. Disassembly the glaring words F tier potential sat boldly at the top. So, heaven opened a window for him only to seal the door shut. No need to feel down, all survivors start with F tier potential. Everyone's at F tier. Yes, F tier across the board. Xiao felt a little better. Potential can be improved later, but what about talents? Can those be changed too? However, those items are even rarer than potential upgrade cards. Everyone starts on the same playing field, but there's a clear shot at catching up or even surpassing them. A second talent, Xiao muttered. Explain what each of these 5 attributes stands for. Xiao wanted to plan his skill points. Accordingly, Constitution determines health and defense. And as for luck, Deep Blue hesitated for a moment, then smirked. It can't be manually distributed or conventionally improved. So, his 10 points, what level is that at? Max value from the get-go. Out of a million trial survivors, only a few could max out their luck. Hitting the only triple S tier talent on your first newbie spin, being the first to upgrade a shelter, and unlock an epic lighthouse, winning by just 10 seconds. Xiao rubbed his nose. Now it makes sense. Back on Earth, Xiao was just your average delivery guy. Xiao guessed his life's luck pool got hoarded and spent all at once here. Luck influences all probability-based events, gotcha loot drops, chest rewards, fusion success chances, you name it. Xiao might start to float off the ground, Xiao joked, glancing back at the for unallocated stat points. So, where should Xiao distribute these? Spirit could work if you want to specialize in becoming a caster, but you currently lack psychic skills. Can be wasteful if you overinvest. You've got maxed out stats in both Constitution and Willpower at 10, putting you ahead of most people already. Xiao would suggest prioritizing Constitution or Willpower. Balanced development is fine, but being a jack of all trades may leave you lacking when it matters most. Xiao gave it some thought. The longer Xiao live, the more Xiao could take advantage of long-term strategies like luck-drawn rewards, resource gathering, and the grilled meat production chain. The boost wasn't huge, but noticeable. At least Xiao would be able to take more hits now. That's what they call a stable investment. Xiao swept them all into a bag and set them up for trade for 50 cotton or 30 linen cloth each. The first batch of 10 sold out in 3 minutes. So, the remaining 60 wouldn't last long either. Frost warnings are the best sales accelerator. Trade for 1 fur or 1 linen cloth each. This time Xiao focused on gathering materials for tailoring. Grill these for lunch. Be generous with the salt. Good food deserves to taste good. None of that bland fitness meal nonsense. Xiao went to the western cliffs to check the second haul of the day. 8 empty pulls, 8 white boxes, 7 green boxes, and 2 blue ones. To toilet paper rolls to lucky fusion cards, 1 forest resource card, 1 livestock summon card, 1 ceramic bowl blueprint, 1 lucky fusion card. Yes, you can use up to 3 per attempt, but any surplus won't apply. Xiao tucked the card away safely. For anyone else, getting even 1 green in 10 rounds would be a miracle. Next, let's move on to a card with a simple green tree sketch on it. Miniature grove resource card. All of heaven and earth can be fished. Resource point cards are rare, but they're indeed in the reward pool. What about limestone mines? Xiao carefully tucked the grove card away, deciding later where to place it. Next up was a deep red fruit about the size of a goose egg. Without hesitation, Xiao took a bite. Its flesh was as hard as gnawing on a raw radish. Grimacing, Xiao forced it down, feeling a wave of heat radiate from his stomach. Strength 8 and his grip strength improved. Slightly, just slightly. Compound crossbow, Rare ranged weapon, loads 5 bolts, capable of rapid firing. Effective range of 50 meters, moderate armor penetration, comes with 5 iron bolts. The Glock fires 17 rounds and then it's just a glorified stick with this crossbow. You can retrieve the bolts and reuse them. The Glock packs a punch, but without solving the ammo issue. It's a single-use weapon, bolts can be reused, giving the crossbow longevity. Let's keep it as a backup. Glock is his ace crossbow for regular use. His range combat power was sorted, now Xiao just needed blueprints for crafting bolts. His hand pausing over to packs of toilet paper. White plastic wrap decorated with small blue flowers. Identical to the ones from Earth's supermarkets that sold for 3.50 a pack. The deep blue wings on his companion quivered before they wisely changed the topic. How about the second cattle horse summoning card? Should they use it now? It might help get more done before the protection period ends tomorrow. They'll deal with that later. Passing plantation number 2. Xiao saw Ox 1 had finished tying up all 50 tomato plants. The craftsmanship was rough, but it did the job. Each plant held upright. Evenly spaced out, Xiao reached into his pocket the summoning card of cattle and horses. Can you handle everything on your own? To be honest, it's getting a bit overwhelming. Xiao broke the card in half. A surge of green light burst forth, and a figure emerged, identical to Bull 1, but shorter by half the head with shorter horns and a much duller expression. Bull 1 had already jumped over, throwing an arm around Bull's shoulder. His loud voice nearly blasting his eardrums. Brother, you're finally here. Bull 1. Show Bull to round back at the wooden cabin. Bingley was flipping fish over the fire. The aroma was heavenly, better than any roasted meat by a mile. Almost done, she said. Xiao sat down and pulled out a cold can of soda. Here's one for you. Her fingers emitted a frosty chill. Instantly coating the can in droplets of condensation, she popped the tab and handed it back to him. Xiao mentally ran through the accounts of the past couple of days. An F-grade body paired with maxed out luck. Xiao used to think luck was some mystical concept like random blessings from above. But this system laid it out in concrete terms with numerical values. Being chosen by fate was just probability, placing a few extra bets in your favor. It's nothing to gloat about. Xiao summoned when needed, hoarded supplies when necessary. The for-roasted jade bases came off the fire, their crispy golden skin gleaming as the salt melted into the juicy meat. The fresh flavor lingered in his throat long after Xiao swallowed. Consumed roasted jade base, permanent constitution plus 1 time to current constitution. 1416. Across the fire, Bingley's notifications chimed twice as well. She wiped her mouth and said, not bad. It added 2 points to his constitution too. Xiao tossed out an appraisal spell. You've been placing all the upgrade stat points into spirit. Yeah, the higher the psychic energy, the stronger and longer lasting the skills. Are you finished eating? A green glow sunk into the ground, and the surface trembled as 15 trees, each as thick as a thigh, sprouted out from the soil. So between the 2 forest patches, 40 for trees were fresh every day, producing 220 units of wood daily. Bull 1 and Bull 2 wandered over from the northern side, chatting as they walked. That's the water storage pit over there. Xiao dug it myself. Xiao tossed each of them to pieces of roasted meat. Once you're done eating, go chop down the new forest. It's your first day. The crossbow bolt section was still grayed out as expected. It needs a blueprint. Xiao opened up the ceramic bowl tab. Ceramic bowl 1 set equals 10 pieces. With the protection period approaching its final hours, Xiao shifted from expansion toward the preparations that would decide whether his territory survived contact. The storm had already killed tens of thousands, and frost threatened to eliminate another wave before human enemies even arrived. He upgraded the central shelter into a stone residence with stronger walls, sealed rooms, a kitchen, and space for essential production structures. A fireplace inside the house provided reliable warmth, while padded coats and thermal blankets protected every island resident from the coming cold. Xiao retained the first winter equipment for Bingley, Bull 1, Bull 2, and himself before listing any remaining pieces. That priority separated ruthless commerce from careless leadership, because the people maintaining his territory could not be replaced by market profit. Outside, expanded farms held captured water, young crops, and defensive spirit plants positioned near the likely approaches. Pea shooter seeds promise automatic ranged attacks under sunlight, adding another layer between intruders and the island monument. Dozens of vine traps hung below the northern cliff, creating a passive food source that required no ammunition or daily hunting. Rare fishing rods continued pulling blueprints, experience gems, crystals, medicine, seeds, and combat items from the sea. One catch produced a compound crossbow with 5 reusable bolts and enough range to pressure enemies. Before they reached the house, Xiao kept the handgun as an emergency weapon because its 17 bullets could not be replaced. Without the correct ammunition blueprint, the crossbow became his sustainable ranged option. while Thunder Puffer fruits remained his reliable explosive reserve. Another fishing chest delivered a fireball skill scroll, finally giving Xiao a combat ability that belonged to him alone. The spell consumed spirit energy and scaled with mentality, making its first blast weaker than Bingley's ice, but far more important emotionally. Xiao formed a fist-sized flame above his palm and threw it toward the ocean, where it burst into steam and scattered water. That modest explosion proved the former courier could now attack without borrowing another person's strength. An emerald experience gem increased his physical foundation, and Xiao committed to strengthening himself whenever suitable rewards appeared. Bingley still carried the island's highest combat ceiling, but Xiao refused to let absolute loyalty become an excuse for personal weakness. Bowl 1 and Bowl 2 finished gathering renewable resources, moving water, and organizing the plantations before the temperature dropped. The stonehouse, lighthouse, farms, roads, workers, and storage systems continued operating as one connected defense network. Xiao packed cooked food, water, winter gear, weapons, explosive fruits, medical supplies, and tools into his time-stopping spatial bag. The bag's massive capacity allowed him to prepare for travel, without weakening the island's emergency reserves. He checked every hostile island number again, removing transcription errors that could waste the platform's single daily activation. Madabao's coalition remained active in chat, still promising to arrive after the barrier vanished. Their confidence grew as the countdown shortened, but none of them mentioned teleportation because none knew Xiao possessed it. Xiao avoided responding, understanding that silence protected surprise better than another public argument. Deep Blue reviewed the portal rules, monument destruction conditions, return window, and authorization limits one final time. Bingley inspected her ice spells and confirmed that her energy had recovered from the earlier elite battle. The workers received instructions to remain near the stone residence and protect the monument. If unfamiliar movement appeared, the lighthouse continued scanning the sea for island-eating sharks, ensuring the counterattack would not leave the territory blind. Every preparation had a backup because one failed item, weather shift, or unexpected enemy ability could still overturn the plan. Xiao did not assume the raiders were weak simply because they behaved foolishly in chat. Their special fruits could shield, poison, heal, and strike at range, making careless entry dangerous even with Bingley present. He planned to observe first, control distance, and use the portal's return route rather than remain trapped by pride. The confrontation would begin only when the protection barrier no longer prevented meaningful consequences. Until then, Xiao continued improving crops, storage, winter supplies, and weapons instead of wasting the final save hours. That discipline was what separated his island from the thousands collapsing. After every new system warning, when the countdown approached 0, the eastern platform's violet crystals brightened beneath the darkening sky. Xiao placed one hand on the rune-covered center and prepared the first destination. From his recorded list, the people who had threatened to raid him were about to learn that his island was no longer the only battlefield he could reach. Looking for fishing rod or dimensional bag if Xiao could trade for the resources Xiao wanted. Xiao would keep capitalizing on the exclusives. Xiao send a channel message. Only allow players with those to blueprints to contact him. All DMs without attachment previews of blueprints will be blocked. Xiao pulled up the building list. The island monument emits a strong white light, forcing him out of the house. Shelter upgrade in progress. Estimated time 30 minutes. The entire wooden house is enveloped in golden light. Inch by inch, the wooden walls are replaced with sturdy gray-white stone blocks. As the light swirls, a brand new stone house begins to materialize, larger than the advanced wooden house, with an additional side wing. 30 minutes later, the golden light condenses and sinks into the foundation. Shelter upgraded to basic stone house. New feature unlocked: water tower. The thick, durable gray-white stone walls are set firmly. The main hall is spacious with the workbench, fusion furnace, and island monument all in their previous spots. On the left, a corridor leads to the master bedroom, guest bedroom, and bathroom. The floors, the polished slate underfoot, feels solid and reassuring. Xiao placed his palm on the island's monument, and the fireplace icon turned from gray to a buildable state. Fireplace, 500 stone, 100 clay, 50 iron ingots, 1 flint prerequisite. Xiao had used up his last bit of it while building the barbecue pit earlier. Moving from wood to stone was a qualitative leap. Standing under nothing but a faint yellow dome of light, unable to even find a throwable rock. What separated then and now wasn't just luck. Luck handed him a decent opening hand, sure, but transforming a barren little island into a bunker. That was achieved with the clunky but tried and true method of using every minute to produce something tangible. Don't treasure chest from fishing have flint. The trade market is pretty well stocked with flint at the moment, though tons of listings popped up. Many were offering to trade it for cotton or cloth. Underneath the inner wall of the stone house, a waist-high stone fireplace took form, with its internal walls plastered with clay. Insert flammable materials and twist the flint striker to ignite. Maintains indoor temperature. Within a comfortable range, same concept as the barbecue pit. Xiao tossed in 100 units of wood, twisted the knob, and with a crisp click, a small orange flame sprung to life, spreading warmth throughout the room. Xiao returned to the island monument, where a new icon at the bottom of the construction list had lit up. Requires manual water refills. They get running water now. Technically, manually assisted running water. You'll have to pour water into the tower yourself, but the pipes will carry it straight to the kitchen sink and bathroom, saving you trips back and forth with bowls. A cylindrical gray-white stone structure rose next to the northern side of the stone house, capped with a rounded reservoir at the top. Residential water tower construction complete above the water tank. There's now a copper faucet. Xiao turned it twice. The water tower is empty. Xiao assigned Bull 1 and Bull 2 to haul water, then opened the monument's 3-dimensional planning map to organize the territory. His eyes landed on a secondary bedroom, a lone toilet icon awkwardly sitting in the corner. It's a legacy feature from when the advanced wooden house was built. Building toilet has been moved. Xiao selected an upgrade: 5,000 wood, 5,000 stone, 500 lime, 500 iron ingots, 500 glass. A flash of golden light outside, and a sturdier intermediate wooden house, with a cozy little living room, appeared in place of the old one. 100 gleaming sickles and 100 dark iron pots were stacked neatly on the ground. Xiao swiped them all into his storage bag. Xiao then crafted a stone toilet, a wooden bed, and bought 10 wooden buckets from the market. Stepping outside, Xiao hollered. No. Bull 1 came running over. Move this toilet into your house and take care of your business inside from now on. No more digging pits outside. Head to the reservoir, fetch water, and fill up the water tower on the north side of the stone residence. It needs 3,000 L. Get it done by sundown. They'll get it done. Noi took the buckets and jogged off to their new house, shouting for yo, bro, grab your buckets. Tell him how many cows and centaurs you've seen sleeping in wooden houses. Huh, big brother, slow down a bit. First, Xiao queued up a command to craft 6 fishing vine traps, then headed to the fusion furnace. Fine fishing rod times 3 rare fishing rod times 1 success rate 90%. Fuse 8 rounds, no failures. Added to the one Xiao already had. Xiao now had 9 blue rods. Want to keep fusing for something better. Maybe aim for an orange grade rod. Maximum rewards are also increased with a tiny chance to fish up a golden treasure chest, plus almost no chance of catching nothing. Xiao would test out these blue rods first. Tomorrow the 6 fishing vine traps were complete, so Xiao packed them up too. If you could infinitely craft ceramic bowls and infinitely fuse them, wouldn't eternal tier treasures become ridiculously common? So, the fusion furnace can only be used for dimensional pouches and fishing rods. Not just that, logging axes and mining picks are also fair game. With enough logging axes, you could theoretically combine your way up to the legendary eternal treasure, the Sky Splitter axe. That's some interesting intel. Storage pouch blue 3 universe pouch orange 1 success rate 80%. No way Xiao was risking it. Xiao slap on a lucky card, success rate 90%. Orange light burst forth, and there it is, his first universe pouch. All 5 cards spent. The 5 orange pouches neatly line up on the ground. Out of the 900 0+ players on the server, Xiao was likely the only one with 6, but Xiao was not stopping there. Universe pouch orange 3 void pouch purple 1 success rate 70%. The success rate drops to 70%. Honestly, for a purple tier, 70% isn't bad. Way too much to risk. Xiao pulled out his only blue lucky fusion card and pressed it on, success rate 90%. The 3 orange pouches slowly rise and merge. The glow shifts from orange to purple, intensifying until the entire stone cabin is washed in violet light. And there it is, a pouch shimmering with an amethyst hue, speckled with glimmers like tiny stars floating along its surface, suspended just at the edge of the furnace. With their 3 meters remote storage range, moving items around is a breeze. The real downside is how annoying it is to fetch stuff. But with the way his pouches are now, it's like staring into an overstocked warehouse. Wood, stone, iron ingots, animal hides, cotton, fish, roasted meat, seeds, blueprints, tools, fishing rods, and all kinds of pouches crammed together. Imagine being in the middle of a fight and needing to pull out a thunder pig fruit, only to waste precious seconds fumbling. Materials in one section, food in another, blueprints and tools each took their own corner. What originally filled the orange bag to the brim occupied only a small area in the simmer bag. Xiao wanted a piece of roasted meat. His palm now held a purple fruit. Testing it out a few more times, his eyes lit up. This feature came just at the right time. It's all way more efficient now. This is what a purple grade item should be like, master. There are still 3 orange bags. A 70% success rate isn't bad at all. You're asking him to risk all 3 orange bags for that 30% chance of failure. Xiao flicked it on what would be its forehead if it had one. After checking the trade records, Xiao confirmed that 7 of 4 roasted portions had sold for 26 animal hides and 48 bundles of fabric. Barring disaster, they won't trade these for quilts unless absolutely necessary. Xiao adjusted the offer cotton quilt for trade exchange for a fishing rod plus dimension bag. Xiao would just raise it to the quilts per trade. Then Xiao had got resources. Worst comes to worst, Xiao was fine sitting on inventory. Xiao placed the scythe and iron cooking pot up for barter instead, and started collecting materials for clothing. The iron pot, which unlocks stir-frying and stewing, will attract top-tier players who've already moved on from just surviving to elevating their quality of life. Spawns 3 E-grade goblin warriors daily. Wait, fishing can give out barracks cards. Yep, it's a green card. Once activated, it creates a physical barracks. Once the protection phase ends, they'll roll up with a whole squad while them lone wolves get steamrolled. Time to band together. Folks, solo players won't make it far like this. Can all you RNG gods just chill for a sec? Xiao got nothing after 3 whole rounds of fishing. A barracks capable of consistently summoning a static number of warriors implies that some players are already capable of organizing armed forces. Is a barracks like that rare? Does it have production limits? Not too rare, huh? Green barracks aren't considered uncommon. At least a few hundred people out of a million have them. Some talents also come with similar summoning abilities, typically high tier. Goblins, for example, consume very little. You can get by just tossing them some leftovers each day. Higher quality barracks produce stronger units, but their upkeep is steeper. 50 animal hides for 169 linen. 600 cotton. Animal hides are the bottleneck. Let's build 50 padded coats. The afternoon sun was delightfully warm. Passing by the sediment pit, the water had cleared up quite a bit after half a day of settling. Mud and dirt had all sunk to the bottom. Good enough for washing up or cleaning, though for drinking, it still needed filtering or boiling. Looking down from the cliff, there were already 45 vine traps in the water. No need to guard them. Pulling the last rope tight and confirming it was securely anchored, Xiao turned and made his way back. As Xiao walked, his thoughts continued to churn. Over these 3 days, Xiao had relied on this island, the queen, and maxed out luck to live better than anyone else in the region. But being the strongest individual and leading the strongest faction are two very different things. The game board is expanding. It's the one who figures out how to play the game. The stone residence finally stood where a leaking grass shelter had existed only 3 days earlier, solid against rain, frost, and hostile eyes. Inside, the island monument remained protected behind stone walls, while the workbench, fusion furnace, and fireplace formed the heart of Xiao's growing base. Outside, paved roads divided the territory into clear zones for farming, mining, logging, storage, fishing, and future defenses. 10 plantations held thousands of liters of captured rainwater, turning one violent storm into a reserve that could sustain everyone for weeks. The original thunder puffer tree produced explosive fruit daily, and its newly planted seeds promised a larger defensive harvest after their growth cycle. Rows of lettuce, tomatoes, wheat, and other crops proved that the island no longer depended entirely on shrinking monster meat supplies. Bowl 1 and Bowl 2 carried water, cut timber, mine stone, and maintain the fields without slowing the island's expansion. Bingley remained the territory's strongest shield, an ice empress whose loyalty and mythical growth made every approaching enemy calculate twice. Xiao now carried a handgun, a reusable compound crossbow, thunder puffer grenades, and the fireball spell he had finally learned himself. That mattered because he refused to remain a mascot hiding behind Bingley forever, even when her power could erase most early threats. The Emerald Experience gem strengthened his own foundation, and every new combat option narrowed the gap between planner and fighter. His fishing operation had evolved from one crude rod into a disciplined network of rare rods and passive vine traps. Those lines pulled medicine, seeds, blueprints, crystals, summoning cards, food, and equipment from a sea that seemed connected to countless worlds. His orange spatial bag held hundreds of item stacks, froze time round stored supplies, and collected nearby objects with a thought. The epic lighthouse continued sweeping violet beams across the water, repelling island-eating sharks while exposing every nearby territory to his presence. That visibility remained dangerous, but darkness would have been worse because unseen predators could destroy an unprotected island. Without warning, every advantage carried a price, and Xiao had learned to calculate that price before celebrating the reward. His cooked meat monopoly had already faded as competitors unlocked fire, proving that no profitable market remained exclusive forever. The iron hoe boom collapsed even faster. falling from premium prices to clearance rates within a single day. Instead of clinging to dying businesses, Xiao converted temporary demand into permanent resources, tools, blueprints, and production capacity. He bought raw meat while frightened survivors dumped it cheaply, then watched its value multiply after everyone learned monsters would not respawn. He traded emergency shelter packs during the storm, gaining fishing rods and dimensional pouches that could never be replaced through daily gathering. People called him ruthless while purchasing everything he listed, revealing that survival stripped away public morality faster than any argument. He understood the desperation behind those choices, because his former life had trained him to measure every meal, deadline, and missed payment. Back on Earth, one delayed delivery could cost his income, while one careless turn through traffic had cost him his entire world. On the island, that same pressure became an advantage because Xiao noticed shortages before slower players understood they existed. He saw clean water as currency before the rain, cooked food as leverage before fire spread, and fishing rods as investments before their value exploded. His greatest weapon was not luck alone, although Destiny Draw had unquestionably placed impossible cards into his hands. The real difference was how quickly he converted each lucky break into a system that kept producing value after the excitement faded. The lighthouse was not merely a trophy. It increased every renewable resource and kept the island-eating shark beyond its violet boundary. The teleportation platform was not merely an escape route. It erased distance and transformed every exposed island number into a reachable destination. That final advantage changed the balance with the raiders more completely than any public threat or temporary alliance. Madabao's group had gathered combat talents, poison fog, wind arrows, shields, and enough confidence to announce their attack openly. They believed 14 attackers could overwhelm one merchant after the protective barrier disappeared, especially when hundreds of spectators expected Xiao to fall. Their mistake was assuming the man behind the marketplace could only fight from his own island. While they celebrated in chat, Xiao quietly recorded 4 to 7 hostile names and copied every island number attached to them. Distance protected those enemies only until the epic formation settled into the ground, and its purple crystals began rotating. The platform could maintain a two-way channel for 1 hour, yet only Xiao's authorized people could activate or cross it freely. Unauthorized enemies standing on the formation would gain nothing, preventing the raiders from turning his own structure against him. 1 activation per day forced careful targeting, but it also made each visit deliberate, unpredictable, and impossible to intercept through normal travel. Deep Blue confirmed that island numbers were unique, permanent identifiers tied directly to each owner's monument and survival. Destroying a monument meant destroying its owner, while capturing its core offered the only known route toward upgrading an island. That knowledge made the coming conflict larger than personal revenge, because victory could change territory, resources, and future survival power. Floating islands drifted roughly 100 meters each day, slowly pushing strangers together until collision forced one monument to consume another. The world was designed like a brutal elimination game where strong territories expanded by swallowing weaker ones. Alliances were therefore logical, betrayal was inevitable, and remaining isolated required enough strength to punish every opportunist testing the boundary. He also knew other players could draw long-range weapons, rare armies, teleportation devices, or systems capable of bypassing ordinary defenses. For that reason, he hid his island number once Deep Blue explained the setting, even though the server announcement had already exposed it widely. Reducing unnecessary attention still mattered because predators preferred visible targets, memorable numbers, and owners who advertised every useful secret. Xiao's public personality remained loud enough to discourage weakness, while his real plan stayed behind stone walls and filtered private messages. He rejected empty promises, ignored guilt campaigns, and accepted only offers containing resources, blueprints, or repeatable long-term value. The enhanced spring water partnership showed the difference between one profitable transaction and a supplier who could strengthen spiritual crops every day. Giving to Iron Hose to that supplier cost almost nothing, yet secured a renewable stream unavailable on Xiao's own island. Similar relationships could eventually matter more than short-term market victories, because no island naturally contained every required material. Trading filled those gaps for now, but the protection periods and would introduce travel, conquest, diplomacy, and direct theft. Xiao prepared for possibilities without committing the island entirely to war or farming. His farms created stability, his marketplace generated resources, Bingley supplied overwhelming force, and the teleportation platform provided strategic reach. The workers gave his plans physical momentum, completing repetitive labor while he studied prices, upgrades, threats, and hidden system rules. Deep Blue had also changed from an annoying floating guide into an information partner trained to report risks before they became disasters. After nearly losing the first place reward by seconds, Xiao demanded warnings about rankings, death conditions, respawns, and time-limited opportunities. That demand produced better decisions because survival depended as much on missing information as physical strength. The rainstorm killed tens of thousands who lacked shelter, despite every beginner still possessing a protective barrier against monsters. Xiao answered by crafting fireplaces, warm coats, blankets, and reinforced housing before the temperature collapsed. He kept equipment for his own people first, then traded the remaining supply while demand reached its highest point. That order revealed his true priority beneath the ruthless merchant image. The small group living on his island would not be sacrificed for strangers. Bingley received food, storage, shelter, and tools because her safety directly supported everyone else's survival. Bull 1 and Bull 2 received cabins, beds, meals, and manageable duties because exhausted workers would weaken the entire territory. Those voices changed hourly, praising him when resources arrived and condemning him whenever the price felt painful. Xiao stopped measuring himself through their reactions, choosing concrete results over temporary reputation. His island had food, drinkable water, warmth, storage, roads, crops, weapons, workers, defenses, and renewable production before beginner protection disappeared. Most importantly, every system reinforced another instead of existing as a disconnected collection of lucky rewards. Fishing generated blueprints and materials, fusion improved equipment, workers gathered renewables, farms secured food, and trade supplied missing resources. The lighthouse increased output, the warehouse preserved stock, and the spatial bag carried that stock wherever the teleportation platform opened. This network was the real empire forming beneath the modest stone house and small square of land. Xiao had not built it through noble blood, inherited armies, or years of cultivation. He built it because a desperate courier understood routes, timing, customer pressure, scarcity, and the cost of arriving even 1 minute late. The same world that once punished him for delayed food now rewarded him for delivering solutions before everyone else recognized the emergency. That reversal gave meaning to every exhausting shift, cramped room, and humiliating argument from his former life. His past had not granted combat power, but it had trained the instincts that turned destiny draw from luck into dominance. Bingley's ice could win battles, yet Xiao's planning decided which battles deserved her strength and what each victory should produce afterward. The attackers in chat saw a merchant sitting behind an overpowered follower and assumed numbers would erase his advantage. They failed to see the production lines, hidden weapons, resource reserves, loyal workers, and teleportation platform supporting that single visible figure. Every hostile profile revealed an island number, every boast exposed a weapon, and every alliance message displayed their confidence before the fight. Xiao transformed their intimidation campaign into a targeting list, preserving it beside the platform while protection time continued counting downward. He did not need to scream louder, recruit strangers, or explain what would happen after the barrier vanished. His answer was already rotating on the eastern field, surrounded by purple crystals and connected to any recorded island in the region. The fireball's spell burning in his palm remained modest at his current spirit level, but even a weak flame could ignite vulnerable structures. The compound crossbow offered reusable range pressure, while Bingley's ice controlled anyone strong enough to survive the opening attack. Thunderpuffer fruits added explosive force, and the spatial bag allowed Xiao to carry an entire assault load without slowing down. Together, those tools turned the former delivery rider into a mobile threat no drifting island could outrun. The protective barrier had once been his prison because 3 wolves waited outside, and he possessed nothing sharper than a dull axe. Now that same barrier was the only reason his enemies still had time to talk. Xiao looked across the organized territory and understood that survival had already changed him. Beyond recognition, he was still calculating, still impatient, and still unwilling to waste anything. But those traits now protected lives instead of chasing delivery ratings. The world expected isolated beginners to panic, starve, freeze, collide, and disappear until only a few island rulers remained. Xiao Chunan refused that script by converting every danger into resources, every resource into infrastructure, and every threat into useful intelligence. He no longer waited for powerful people to decide whether he deserved safety, because his own hands had built it. Whatever happened after beginner protection ended, Xiao had already crossed the line between surviving the game and learning how to control it. The broke courier who once delivered other people's meals now commanded an island capable of feeding, defending, and carrying everyone who depended on him. His transformation was complete. Xiao Chunan had become the architect of his own survival, and no public threat could take that away.